Welcome, fellow thrill seekers, to another spine-chilling episode of our haunted storytelling series. Tonight, we embark on a journey through the mile-high city Denver, Colorado. Beneath its vibrant streets and towering skyscrapers lies a tapestry of eerie tales, ghostly encounters, and haunted histories. From opulent mansions to bustling hotels, Denver's past lingers in the present, waiting to share its secrets. So, dim the lights, settle in, and prepare to be transported to the most haunted places in Denver. The Brown Palace Hotel, an iconic Denver landmark, has been welcoming guests since 1892, its towering atrium and lavish architecture standing as a testament to the city's gilded age. Marble floors, ornate ironwork, and grand chandeliers create an atmosphere of elegance and sophistication. Yet beneath the polished surface and refined luxury lies a layer of history far darker, whispered about by those who have spent the night within its walls. Over the decades, numerous guests, staff, and visitors have reported experiences that defy explanation, suggesting that the Brown Palace is not just a hotel, it is a home to lingering spirits, echoes of the past that refuse to rest. One of the most frequently cited apparitions is a man dressed as a train conductor near the hotel's grand entrance. Guests passing through the lobby have described seeing him standing silently, his uniform impeccable, his expression unreadable. At first, it seems as though he is waiting for a carriage or guiding travelers, perfectly in place amidst the bustle of the hotel. But when approached, the figure vanishes without a trace, leaving only the lingering sensation of having been observed. Many speculate that this specter is the spirit of a long-departed hotel employee or perhaps a traveler whose journey ended abruptly, his presence anchored to the hotel's bustling entryway. The basement of the Brown Palace holds its own chilling tales. Guests and staff have reported hearing the faint cries of a baby echoing through the subterranean corridors, even when no children had been present. The sound is subtle, almost teasingly distant, carried through the air ducts and empty storage rooms. Those who venture into the basement often report a sudden chill, a sensation of cold that seems to seep into the bones. Attempts to locate the source of the cries invariably fail, leaving the listener with an uneasy awareness that some presence is there, unseen but undeniably real. The echoes of this ghostly infant serve as a reminder of lives that have passed through the hotel. Lives that may have left more than just memories behind. Perhaps the most notorious room in the Brown Palace is room 320. Over the years, guests have reported feeling the sensation of someone tugging at their sheets during the night. A subtle but unmistakable presence at the edge of their bed. Objects may shift slightly, as if nudged by invisible hands. And cold drafts often sweep across the room, regardless of the heating system's settings. Some have woken to find the bedclothes neatly arranged, despite having left them in disarray, as though an unseen caretaker has tended to them. The origin of these phenomena is unknown, but many believe that the spirits inhabiting room 320 are restless, tethered by events or emotions that occurred decades ago. The hotel's long history contributes to its spectral population. The Brown Palace has hosted countless dignitaries, travelers, and notable figures over its more than a century of operation. Each guest who spent a night within its walls has left a subtle imprint, a trace of presence that lingers in the air, in the creak of the floors, and in the dim corners of the hallways. Staff members frequently report hearing whispers in the corridors, faint murmurs that vanish when investigated, or glimpses of shadowy figures moving behind frosted glass doors. The hotel, with all its grandeur, seems alive with echoes of past lives. Even the hotel's public spaces hold stories of lingering spirits. The grand atrium, with its towering ceiling and cascading ironwork, is often the setting for reported sightings. Guests walking through the lobby may feel an invisible gaze upon them, the sense that someone is walking just out of sight. The sound of soft footsteps, not matching the bustling crowd, can be heard echoing across the marble floors. Some have reported fleeting glimpses of figures in period clothing, perfectly out of place in the modern-day setting, as if the hotel is preserving fragments of its past for those attuned enough to notice. Staff members have learned to navigate these unexplained occurrences with a quiet respect. Many have grown accustomed to the sounds and sensations, knowing that the hotel has its own rhythms, some of which cannot be explained by human logic. Housekeepers, bellhops, and front desk attendants often report experiences that range from subtle chills and fleeting shadows to more vivid encounters, like objects moving on their own or doors closing quietly behind them. These incidents are rarely threatening, but they reinforce the sense that the Brown Palace Hotel is more than a building. It is a repository of memory, a place where the past remains tangibly present. Guests who spend time in the Brown Palace often describe an unsettling mix of awe and unease. The luxurious environment, combined with the hotel's haunted reputation, creates a unique atmosphere, while the architecture can impress with their elegance. The whispered stories and unexplained events create a sense that visitors are never truly alone. Many find themselves watching corners, pausing at the top of staircases, or feeling the prickle of invisible eyes. A heightened awareness that something more than modern life lingers within the hotel. The Brown Palace is not simply haunted in the conventional sense. It is a living museum of spectral echoes. Each hallway, each room, each shadowed corner holds a story of travelers who never left, of employees devoted beyond the grave, of moments of joy, grief, or tragedy that left a lasting impression. Whether it is the train conductor at the entrance, the faint cries in the basement, or the mysterious events in room 320, the presence of the past is palpable, waiting quietly for those sensitive enough to notice. For visitors willing to embrace the unknown, the Brown Palace offers an experience unlike any other. The interplay between history and haunting, luxury and unease, creates a narrative that is as rich and layered as the hotel itself. Every creak of a floorboard, every flicker of light, and every whisper in the hallway becomes part of an unseen story, a testament to the lingering spirits that inhabit Denver's iconic landmark. In the Brown Palace Hotel, elegance and history intertwine with the spectral and the unexplained. Guests and staff alike have learned that the hotel is not merely a place to stay at, it's a place to witness the past lingering in the present, to feel the subtle brush of unseen hands, and to experience the city's history in its most intimate and unsettling form. Here, the line between luxury and the supernatural blurs, and every visitor becomes part of a story that has been unfolding for more than a century. The Molly Brown House Museum, nestled in the heart of Denver, stands as a proud reminder of a woman whose life was as extraordinary as her legacy. Known worldwide as the unsinkable Molly Brown, she survived the sinking of the Titanic, championed social causes, and left an indelible mark on Colorado history. The Victorian mansion, meticulously preserved to reflect the opulence and character of the early 20th century, is not just a monument to her accomplishments. It is also a hotspot for paranormal activity, where the echoes of its former residents continue to linger. Visitors and staff alike have reported a range of unexplained phenomena, suggesting that Molly Brown's spirit may still roam the halls of the home she cherished. One of the most commonly reported experiences involves furniture rearranging itself. Guests and museum staff have occasionally walked into rooms only to find chairs slightly out of place, tables shifted, or objects on shelves subtly moved. While it could be attributed to human error or cleaning, the frequency and timing of these occurrences, often when the mansion is empty, suggests something more. Those who have witnessed the changes describe a sense of presence, as if someone unseen is walking the rooms, ensuring that the home remains lively and cared for even decades after Molly's passing. In addition to physical movement, flickering lights are a frequent occurrence throughout the mansion. In the evening hours, bulbs will dim or flare unexpectedly, often localized in a single room before returning to normal. Some visitors have noted that the flickers seem to coincide with certain exhibits or areas that highlight Molly's personal life, from her formal sitting room to the areas displaying artifacts of her philanthropic work. The lights create an unsettling but captivating atmosphere, giving the impression that the home itself is alive, reacting to the presence of those who enter. Another compelling aspect of the Brown House's haunted reputation is the distinct smell of pipe smoke. often noted by staff and visitors alike. The scent is reminiscent of Molly's husband, J.J. Brown, whose influence on her life and fortune was significant. People have reported catching a whiff of tobacco smoke in rooms where no smoking has occurred for decades. The smell is not overwhelming, but is unmistakably present, lingering just long enough to provoke curiosity and unease. For many, it is as though the mansion is momentarily filled with the presence of the Browns themselves, reminding visitors of the people who once made the home so vibrant. Perhaps the most intriguing reports center on apparitions of Molly Brown herself. Guests have described glimpsing a tall, elegant woman in period clothing, moving gracefully through the corridors or pausing near exhibits. She is often described as having a warm, yet authoritative presence, a figure that commands attention without causing fear. Some claim that Molly appears to be inspecting the home, perhaps ensuring that her legacy is being properly honored, or simply moving through the rooms she once called home. Sightings are fleeting. The figure vanishes when approached or when observers turn to follow her, leaving behind only the impression of having shared a space with a historical figure larger than life. Visitors also report subtle touches of the supernatural, small sensations that hint at Molly's presence. Some have felt a gentle brush of air, like someone passing by, or the sensation of being watched while exploring a particular room. Others hear faint footsteps echoing in empty hallways or the soft rustle of curtains, even when there is no wind. These subtle interactions reinforce the idea that the mansion is more than a static museum. It is a living repository of history, memory, and, perhaps, lingering spirits. The mansion's architecture and design seem to amplify these experiences. Its high ceilings, narrow corridors, and intimate sitting rooms create perfect conditions for echoes, shadows, and movements to be perceived in unusual ways. Yet, while the mansion's structure may explain some occurrences, the specificity of the events, the locations of flickering lights, the areas where furniture moves, and the timing of apparitions suggests a conscious presence rather than mere coincidence. Many believe that Molly Brown's indomitable spirit has left an imprint so strong that it continues to interact with the living. Staff members at the museum have grown accustomed to the mansion's unusual atmosphere, often treating it with a mix of respect and awe. Volunteers report that certain rooms feel warmer or colder than others without explanation, that objects occasionally shift just slightly, and that small, fleeting glimpses of a figure in period attire are sometimes visible at the edges of their vision. Rather than fear, many staffers express a sense of companionship, as though Molly herself remains present to guide, observe, and protect her home. Even visitors who are skeptical of the paranormal frequently report an unshakable sense of history and presence while touring the mansion. The combination of Victorian grandeur, artifacts preserved with care, and the lingering stories of the Brown family create an atmosphere that is both inspiring and eerie. Whether or not one believes in ghosts, the Molly Brown House Museum offers a tangible connection to the past, allowing people to feel as though they are walking alongside the figures who shaped Colorado history. In many ways, the haunting of the Molly Brown House Museum reflects the spirit of its namesake. Molly Brown was a woman of energy, resilience, and unwavering determination, and the reports of her presence, whether through flickering lights, mysterious movements, or sightings of her apparition mirror, these qualities, the mansion seems to embody her personality, vibrant and persistent, refusing to fade quietly into history. Guests leave with a sense of awe, a touch of unease, and the undeniable impression that they have encountered someone extraordinary. Ultimately, the Molly Brown House Museum is more than just a historical site. It is a living monument to one of Denver's most remarkable figures, a place where the past refuses to remain entirely in the past. The rearranged furniture, flickering lights, lingering pipe smoke, and sightings of Molly herself serve as a reminder that history is not only recorded in documents and artifacts, but also in the energy, presence, and memory of those who once walked these halls. For those who visit, the mansion offers an experience that is both educational and chilling, a chance to step into the life of a woman whose legend continues to haunt the place she loved.
Cheeseman Park, nestled in the heart of Denver, is a place of calm beauty by day. Its tree-lined paths, open lawns, and serene gardens offer city dwellers a respite from the hustle and bustle of urban life. Families stroll along the walking trails, joggers pass through in the early morning light, and picnickers enjoy the sun on warm afternoons. Yet beneath its tranquil surface lies a past far more somber past that continues to echo through the park in ways that some say are unmistakably supernatural. Before it became the elegant public space it is today. Cheeseman Park was Mount Prospect Cemetery, one of Denver's earliest burial grounds. Established in the 19th century, it held the remains of countless individuals, many of whom were exhumed in the late 1800s to make way for the park's development. But the process was far from complete. Reports suggest that numerous bodies were left behind, unmarked and forgotten, and their spirits may still linger among the trees and walkways. Visitors to Cheeseman Park, particularly in the quieter hours of the evening or the early morning, often describe experiencing unexplained cold spots. These sudden drops in temperature are startling, especially during otherwise warm days. A jogger may pause mid-stride, feeling a chill creep over them that seems to have no natural source. Couples walking along the winding paths have reported shivering simultaneously, despite wearing warm clothing, as if an unseen presence has passed nearby. The cold is fleeting, vanishing as quickly as it appears, but it leaves a lingering sense that the air itself holds the memory of those who never truly left. Even more unsettling are the numerous reports of shadowy figures moving through the park. Witnesses often describe seeing glimpses of human shapes flitting between the trees, at the edge of their vision only to disappear when looked at directly. Some appear fully formed, dressed in the fashions of the 19th century, while others seem more like shadows, indistinct and shifting. These figures are rarely aggressive. Instead, they give the impression of being lost, wandering the park as if seeking direction or acknowledgement. A woman walking her dog in the late evening once recounted seeing a group of indistinct forms standing silently near the former Cemetery S Center, their heads bowed as if paying some solemn tribute to themselves. When she turned to speak or approach, they vanished completely, leaving only the quiet rustling of leaves behind. The park's history of neglect and forgotten burials adds a chilling context to these experiences. During the late 1800s, the exhumation process was rushed and poorly documented. While most bodies were relocated, many remained beneath the soil, their graves unmarked and their identities lost to time. Archaeologists and historians have confirmed that several graves were inadvertently left in place, particularly in areas where records were incomplete or mistakes occurred during relocation. It is believed that the lingering presence reported by visitors is connected to these forgotten souls, whose final resting places were disrupted but never fully honored. In addition to cold spots and shadowy figures, some visitors describe unusual auditory phenomena. Footsteps can sometimes be heard along the gravel paths, echoing in the stillness even when no one else is present. Others report whispers that seem to rise from the grass itself, faint murmurs that vanish when one strains to listen. A lone jogger in the early hours once said he could hear the faint sound of a mournful wail, like someone grieving silently, drifting through the morning fog, though fleeting and often dismissed by skeptics. These occurrences contribute to the sense that Cheeseman Park is not merely a public garden, but a space where the past continues to assert itself in subtle, disquieting ways. Some of the most persistent stories revolve around the feeling of being watched. Visitors strolling through the park alone in the evening report a sensation of unseen eyes upon them, a presence just beyond perception. Dogs, attuned to senses beyond human capacity, are often observed staring intently at empty spaces, growling or barking at nothing visible. Even seasoned parkgoers have described moments when they felt compelled to leave an area suddenly, a gut instinct warning them of something unseen. Many attribute these sensations to the spirits of those who remained in the park after the exhumations, lingering with unresolved emotions, seeking acknowledgement of their interrupted rest. Cheeseman Park also carries an aesthetic eeriness at night. Under the moonlight, the tree shadows stretch long and distorted, the pathways winding into darkness. Visitors recount that familiar landmarks, like benches and fountains, appear subtly altered, as if shaped by another presence. Some claim that statues or garden ornaments seem to move slightly when observed peripherally, only to appear unchanged when directly examined. These subtle anomalies create a sense of disorientation, a feeling that the park is both familiar and foreign, a place where the boundaries between the living and the dead blur. Despite all, perhaps because of these eerie occurrences, Cheeseman Park remains a beloved location for Denver residents. Those aware of its haunted history often approach the space with a combination of respect and curiosity, while historians and paranormal enthusiasts continue to document the park's strange phenomena. Many believe that acknowledging the park's past, even quietly, may be the only way to respect the spirits who linger there. Ultimately, Cheeseman Park serves as a haunting reminder that beauty and history are often intertwined with sorrow and loss. Beneath the grass, among the towering trees, and along the winding paths, the spirits of forgotten souls seem to remain, their presence subtle but undeniable. Whether glimpsed as a fleeting shadow, sensed in a chill of air, or heard in a whisper among the leaves, these remnants of the past invite reflection and awareness. They remind visitors that the ground beneath their feet carries stories long buried, but never entirely silenced. Walking through Cheeseman Park, one cannot help but feel that the space is alive with memory. Every gust of wind, rustle of leaves, and sudden shiver in the air serves as a gentle nudge. A whisper from the past reminding the living that history, even when forgotten, endures. For those who venture through its paths, Cheeseman Park offers more than recreation. It offers a connection to the souls who came before, a haunting yet beautiful testament to lives interrupted but not erased. In the quiet of dusk or the stillness of dawn, the park becomes a threshold between the present and the past. A place where the forgotten are still remembered, if only in the shadows.
Denver International Airport, known to locals as DIA, is a sprawling modern hub where thousands of travelers pass through daily. Its soaring ceilings, angular architecture, and distinctive white tent-like roof make it a marvel of contemporary design. The airport is famous not only for its scale and efficiency, but also for its bizarre artwork, cryptic murals, and countless conspiracy theories. Yet beneath the bright lights and bustling terminals lies a layer of mystery and unexplained activity that has earned DIA a reputation among paranormal enthusiasts as one of the most haunted airports in the world. While some dismiss these claims as flights of fancy, the experiences of travelers, staff, and investigators suggest that the airport harbors secrets far stranger than its public image conveys. One of the most notorious aspects of DIA's eerie reputation is its underground tunnels. Originally constructed to facilitate baggage handling and airport operations, these tunnels have long been the subject of rumor and speculation. Some claim that they were designed to serve as secret bunkers or even as government shelters, although no official confirmation exists. Regardless of their original purpose, these subterranean corridors have become the setting for numerous ghostly sightings. Airport employees, particularly maintenance workers and security staff, report hearing footsteps echoing through the otherwise silent tunnels, though no one is present. Some describe shadows darting out of sight, vanishing before they can be identified, leaving behind a lingering sense of being watched. Travelers passing through the terminals have also shared unnerving experiences. Late night or early morning passengers sometimes report hearing disembodied voices, calling out announcements or whispering along the concourses. These sounds often occur in areas that are deserted at the time, creating a surreal, almost cinematic effect. Some describe seeing figures in the distance, human-shaped and moving with purpose, only to vanish when approached. Witnesses consistently describe these apparitions as fleeting yet undeniable, leaving them with a lasting sense of unease that lingers long after leaving the airport. The airport's murals and artwork have added fuel to the fire of paranormal speculation. Large murals in the Jeppesen terminal, for example, depict apocalyptic scenes alongside depictions of peace and harmony. Some visitors have reported that the art seems to shift when not being directly observed, the images subtly altering in ways that cannot be explained by lighting or perspective. Others claim that the murals evoke sudden feelings of dread or discomfort, as if the scenes are charged with energy from unseen sources. The combination of haunting imagery and unexplained activity has led many to speculate that the airport itself serves as a conduit between the mundane and the supernatural. Employees who work overnight shifts are among the most frequent witnesses to DIA's paranormal phenomena. Security guards often report seeing shadows move along the edges of their vision, objects shifting without explanation, or doors opening and closing of their own accord. Some have described experiencing cold drafts in otherwise climate-controlled areas, a sudden chill that feels distinctly separate from the ambient air. These reports are consistent enough that many long-term staff have developed a cautious respect for the airport's hidden dimensions, moving carefully through empty corridors while acknowledging that some areas seem to have a life of their own. Another element contributing to DIA's haunted reputation is its history of unusual construction and timing. The airport's opening in 1995 was marked by delays, budget overruns, and controversy, leaving an aura of tension and frustration around its early days. Paranormal enthusiasts speculate that the stress, combined with the disruption of the land during construction, may have left residual energy imprints, contributing to the frequency of supernatural reports. While there is no scientific proof of such claims, The sheer volume and consistency of accounts from staff and travelers alike suggests that Daya is far from an ordinary airport. One particularly chilling phenomenon involves apparent interactions with unseen forces. Some witnesses report feeling a presence brushing past them in empty hallways, accompanied by the faint scent of cologne or perfume. Others describe objects moving inexplicably, suitcase rolling slightly, a chair tilting, or a cleaning cart shifting position without any apparent cause. For many, these small but unnerving events are enough to create a lasting impression, a sense that the airport is inhabited by more than the living. Even passengers who consider themselves skeptics often experience moments of unease or heightened awareness while at Daya. The vast, open terminals, the geometric angles of the ceilings, and the echoing corridors combine to create a surreal atmosphere. And when paired with reports of unexplained shadows, whispers, and movements, the effect is amplified, further reinforcing the perception of paranormal activity. While photography can be influenced by lighting and camera quality, the patterns are consistent enough to intrigue both amateur and professional ghost hunters. Despite its reputation, Daya remains one of the busiest airports in the United States. Travelers continue to navigate its terminals daily, many unaware of the strange occurrences reported by others. Those who are aware, however, often approach the airport with a sense of caution or curiosity, keeping a watchful eye for shadows, listening for unexplained sounds, and sometimes visiting late at night in the hope of witnessing the inexplicable firsthand. The airport's haunting is not malevolent in most accounts. It is subtle, persistent, and mysterious, leaving an impression rather than causing direct harm. Ultimately, Denver International Airport represents more than just a hub of travel. It is a crossroads of history, architecture, and the unexplained, a place where the ordinary meets the extraordinary in fleeting glimpses, from the echoing footsteps in the tunnels to the fleeting figures in the concourses. From the eerie murmurs to the shifting imagery of the murals, Daya offers an experience that is both unsettling and compelling. For those willing to open their senses to the unseen, the airport becomes a gateway to the mysteries that lurk just beyond perception. Walking through Daya, one cannot help but feel that it is a space where the past, present, and something beyond intertwine. The echoes of footsteps in empty hallways, the brief flashes of figures disappearing around corners, and the inexplicable sensations that visitors report suggest a hidden layer beneath the airport's modern facade. Whether one believes in ghosts or not, the experiences recounted by staff and travelers alike ensure that DIA's legend will endure. A haunting reminder that even in places built for efficiency and order, the unknown has a way of lingering just out of sight. The Oxford Hotel, standing proudly in the heart of Denver since 1891, has welcomed countless travelers over the decades. Its historic charm and elegance make it a beloved landmark. Yet beneath its polished facade and bustling lobby lies a darker, more mysterious side. Guests and staff alike have long whispered about unusual occurrences that defy explanation, earning the hotel a reputation as one of Denver's most haunted locations. Many of the most unsettling reports come from room 320, a guest room steeped in tragedy. In 1898, a gruesome murder-suicide occurred within its walls, leaving behind a legacy of sorrow that some believe never fully departed. Over the years, numerous guests staying in room 320 have reported unexplained sensations. Some claim they feel a sudden tug on the sheets or an invisible presence brushing against their arms as if unseen hands are reaching out. Others describe waking in the middle of the night with a sense of being watched, the air heavy with a tension that cannot be accounted for by normal circumstances. The Oxford's hauntings are not limited to room 320. In various parts of the hotel, patrons have experienced locked bathroom stalls opening or closing without explanation, faucets that begin running on their own, and strange cold drafts in hallways. Guests walking through the corridors often describe a sudden feeling of unease, a prickling sensation on the back of the neck, or the vague impression that someone is following them. Staff have reported hearing footsteps echoing in empty hallways and doors gently creaking, even when no one is around. These incidents suggest that the building itself is alive with the memories of its past occupants. Several sightings over the years point to figures appearing briefly in mirrors or at the end of hallways. Guests sometimes report glimpsing a shadowy form standing near the foot of the bed, only for it to vanish when they turn their heads. In other cases, the outline of a man in period clothing has been seen pacing the hall, often near room 320 or the stairwells. The figure appears deliberate in movement, giving the impression of someone repeating actions from a life once lived within the hotel's walls. Staff members also share stories that hint at the building's lingering energy. Housekeeping staff have entered rooms to find objects slightly moved from where they were left. A towel might appear draped over a chair instead of neatly folded, or a drawer might be partially open with no explanation. Some have described doors opening on their own during the quiet hours of the night, accompanied by a faint sense of presence lingering in the room. Even the most skeptical employees admit to moments of inexplicable unease while performing their duties. The hotel's history contributes to the weight of its spectral presence. As Denver's oldest hotel, the Oxford has witnessed more than a century of human experience celebrations, heartbreaks, arrivals, and departures. It has seen the city grow and evolve, hosting both ordinary guests and notable figures. The echoes of laughter, conversation, and footsteps from generations past may still resonate within the walls, creating an atmosphere where the past and present coexist. Some of the more chilling accounts come from those who stay late into the night. Patrons in room 320 sometimes report a sudden drop in temperature, even during warm summer nights. Shadows appear to move independently of light sources, and the faint sound of whispering indistinct, yet undeniably present can be heard just beyond the edge of perception. Guests often awaken with the sense that someone is standing nearby, observing them silently before fading into nothing. Despite these unsettling occurrences, many visitors find the experience fascinating rather than frightening. The Oxford Hotel's blend of history, elegance, and paranormal activity creates a unique environment where guests feel connected to a long line of past residents. For some, the thrill of staying in a room with a notorious history or wandering hallways said to be haunted enhances the allure of the historic hotel. Paranormal enthusiasts, history buffs, and casual travelers alike are drawn to the Oxford eager to glimpse a shadow of the past or feel a brush with the unexplained. Even outside of room 320, the Oxford exhibits traces of its haunted nature. The stairwells, rarely empty, sometimes echo with footsteps that cannot be accounted for. Guests walking to and from their rooms late at night have reported cold drafts sweeping across corridors, often accompanied by the sound of soft, almost imperceptible whispers. Mirrors and windows occasionally reveal fleeting glimpses of forms that vanish when approached. These phenomena combine to create an ambience in which the hotel itself seems aware of the people moving through it, observing and interacting in ways that cannot be easily explained. The Oxford Hotel embodies the perfect blend of history and mystery. Its grandeur, historic charm, and longevity make it a treasured landmark, while its spectral inhabitants ensure that every visit carries an element of the unknown. Guests and staff alike recount tales of unexplained events, lingering presences, and shadows moving through the halls, all centered on the hotel's most notorious location room. For those brave enough to explore the corridors late at night or spend a night in the infamous room, the Oxford Hotel offers more than luxury accommodations. It offers a window into the past, a brush with lives long ended but never forgotten. The combination of history, tragedy, and lingering spirits makes every stay a uniquely immersive experience, leaving visitors with stories and memories that are both fascinating and unsettling. Proof that some echoes of the past never truly fade. The Stanley Hotel, perched in the scenic town of Estes Park, just outside Denver, is more than just a luxury retreat. It's a landmark steeped in legend, mystery, and the supernatural. Built in 1909 by F.O. Stanley, the inventor of the Stanley steamer automobile, The hotel was envisioned as a grand getaway for the wealthy, offering sweeping views of the Rocky Mountains, pristine architecture, and an unparalleled sense of elegance. Over the decades, however, it has gained a reputation far beyond its scenic vistas and historic charm. Known widely as the inspiration for Stephen King's The Shining, the Stanley has become synonymous with paranormal activity, attracting visitors from around the world who seek a glimpse of its spectral residents. One of the most frequently reported phenomena at the Stanley involves piano music playing from empty rooms. Guests often recount hearing the delicate strains of classical or ragtime melodies drifting through the hallways late at night. The source of the music is rarely visible, and attempts to locate the pianist inevitably fail. Some visitors claim that the notes seem to echo through the corridors, fading just as one approaches the door. Musicians and historians alike have noted that the music often corresponds to pieces historically popular during the early 20th century, lending an uncanny sense that the hotel's original guests or staff are still lingering in spirit, expressing themselves through sound. In addition to these musical apparitions, many have reported sightings of ghostly figures of former staff members, housekeepers, bellhops, and concierges who once worked at the hotel appear intermittently, often performing their duties as if the hotel were still operating in its earliest days. Guests have described seeing a maid pushing a trolley through the hallway, only for her to vanish around a corner, or a bellhop standing by an elevator, tipping an invisible hat before disappearing. These apparitions are generally non-threatening, exuding a quiet dignity and a sense of purpose, as though the hotel's history cannot be fully separated from its present. The Stanley's guest rooms are another hotspot for paranormal encounters. Room 217, famously cited by Stephen King as the inspiration for The Shining, has been the site of countless reports. Guests describe doors opening and closing by themselves, lights flickering without cause, and sudden temperature drops that chill the room despite the heating system being active. Some have reported seeing shadowy figures at the edge of the bed or feeling an unseen presence standing near them as they sleep. Others recount subtle touches of a hand brushing against their shoulder, or the sensation of someone sitting at the edge of the bed that vanished the moment they turned to look. Hallways and public areas of the hotel are not immune to these strange occurrences. Visitors walking through the lobby late at night have claimed to hear footsteps echoing along empty corridors, accompanied by faint whispers that cannot be traced to any human source. The wooden floors, once polished to a mirror shine, seem to amplify these sounds, creating an unsettling yet fascinating auditory experience. Even the grand staircase, with its sweeping curves and intricate banisters, is a site where shadows and fleeting figures have been spotted moving against the light, disappearing before they can be confronted. Many guests also report cold spots and sudden chills in specific areas of the hotel. These temperature drops are often localized and abrupt, startling visitors who were perfectly comfortable moments before. Paranormal investigators have noted that these cold spots frequently coincide with locations associated with significant events in the hotel's history, such as former staff quarters, the original kitchen, or rooms where notable guests once stayed. The effect is eerie, lending credibility to the idea that the hotel retains residual energy from its past. In addition to sensory phenomena, some visitors have experienced objects moving inexplicably. Chairs may be nudged slightly, doors that were firmly closed open on their own, and small items on tables or shelves are occasionally found displaced. While such events can sometimes be attributed to environmental factors, the regularity and specificity reported by multiple witnesses suggests something more unusual at play. The movement often seems purposeful, as if the spirits are subtly interacting with the living rather than simply manifesting randomly. What sets the Stanley Hotel apart from other historic locations is the sheer consistency and variety of its paranormal activity, from the melodic echoes of piano music to apparitions of staff members, from shadowy figures in the corridors to unexplained touches and sudden chills. Nearly every aspect of the hotel seems imbued with a lingering presence. Visitors who come expecting a traditional historic hotel experience often leave with a deep sense of having brushed against something far more mysterious. Despite or perhaps because of these supernatural associations, the Stanley remains a thriving destination for tourists and paranormal enthusiasts alike. Ghost tours and nighttime investigations have become an integral part of the hotel's identity, allowing visitors to explore its haunted history with both curiosity and reverence. Staff members often share stories handed down through generations, recounting encounters with guests, former employees, and unexplained phenomena, all of which contribute to the hotel's mystique. Ultimately, the Stanley Hotel is not just a relic of Denver's early 20th century elegance. It is a living monument to the unseen, a place where history and the paranormal coexist. Every piano note heard in an empty room, every shadow glimpsed in a hallway, and every unexplained chill serves as a reminder that the hotel is more than the sum of its architecture and reputation. Its stories of staff, guests, and the legendary Molly Brown-esque resilience of those who live there linger in the air, quietly weaving the past into the present. For those who step inside, the Stanley Hotel offers a unique experience, a chance to walk alongside history and its unseen inhabitants, to feel the subtle brush of spirits past, and to witness a living legend that inspired one of the most enduring horror novels of modern times. The hotel's elegance, combined with its haunted presence, creates an atmosphere that is at once breathtaking, unsettling, and unforgettable. In the Stanley Hotel, the line between reality and the spectral is always just a little thinner, inviting visitors to see the ordinary world through the lens of the extraordinary. The Patterson Inn, a boutique hotel in Denver, carries a history as rich and opulent as the city itself. Originally built as a grand mansion on what was once Denver's Millionaire's Row, the home exemplified the luxury and status of its early residents. Towering ceilings, intricately carved woodwork, and expansive staircases marked it as a symbol of wealth and prestige. Over the decades, the mansion transitioned into a hotel, preserving much of its historic charm while opening its doors to travelers seeking an intimate and unique lodging experience. Yet, behind the elegant and boutique atmosphere lies a legacy of ghostly whispers and unexplained activity, earning the Patterson Inn a reputation among paranormal enthusiasts as one of Denver's most haunted locations. Guests often report hearing footsteps on the grand staircase, particularly during the quiet hours of the night. The steps, polished to a reflective shine, seem to echo even the faintest tread. Visitors describe hearing a rhythmic sequence of footfalls, ascending or descending, only to arrive at the top or bottom and find the staircase empty. Housekeepers, familiar with the mansion's layout and quirks, have confirmed these accounts, noting that no drafts, HVAC systems, or structural anomalies could account for the persistent sounds. Many speculate that the footsteps belonged to former residents, lingering in the home they once called their own, traversing the staircase as they did in life. In addition to the auditory experiences, doors within the inn often creak open by themselves. Guests have recounted entering rooms to find doors ajar, though they were certain they had closed them. Some describe multiple doors opening sequentially down a hallway, as if someone or something is moving deliberately through the building. The effect is particularly unnerving in the dim light of evening, when the shadows stretch along the ornate moldings and polished floors. Visitors report feeling a subtle presence behind them, a sensation of being observed even when no one is physically visible. Perhaps the most evocative and mysterious phenomenon at the Patterson Inn is the distinct scent of perfume lingering in the air. Guests and staff alike describe a delicate floral fragrance, reminiscent of the turn-of-the-century era, drifting through hallways or individual rooms. The scent is fleeting, appearing suddenly and vanishing without explanation, leaving a lingering sense of nostalgia or unease. Many associate the perfume with the spirits of the mansion's original female residents, believing that their presence persists in subtle ways, manifesting through smell as much as through sight or sound. Some visitors have reported shadowy figures glimpsed in peripheral vision, often near the grand staircase or in the expansive hallways that connect the hotel's suites. These figures are rarely fully visible, appearing as dark silhouettes that vanish when directly observed. Guests describe a sense of motion, as though someone is passing through the room with a quiet purpose, but always remaining just beyond reach. While these apparitions are not typically threatening, they leave a lasting impression, a reminder that the inn's past occupants may still be walking its halls. The architecture of the Patterson Inn amplifies these experiences. Its high ceilings, polished wood floors, and expansive windows create acoustics that carry footsteps, whispers, and creaks far more dramatically than in a modern building. Shadows cast by ornate furnishings and stair railings can appear to move in strange ways under the glow of evening lights or the flicker of candles. Even the building's heating and cooling systems, though modernized, cannot fully explain the cold drafts that accompany the appearance of ghostly figures or the sudden shifts in air pressure. Reported by some guests, Room 12, in particular, has a reputation for heightened activity. Guests staying here have described feeling the sensation of someone sitting on the edge of the bed, even when alone, or noticing personal items subtly shifted overnight. Some have awakened to hear quiet whispering or soft footsteps pacing the room. Others have reported a sudden drop in temperature or a fleeting chill, prompting them to pull the covers tightly around themselves. Despite the unsettling nature of these experiences, many visitors leave with a sense of fascination rather than fear, intrigued by the mansion's living history. Staff members who have worked at the inn for years often share stories of paranormal encounters in the corridors and service areas. Housekeepers have heard disembodied voices speaking softly or calling names, only to find empty rooms upon investigation. Maintenance staff occasionally feel a presence following them through hallways, accompanied by the subtle sound of movement across the polished floors. Even the reception area is said to occasionally host unexplained occurrences, such as phones ringing with no one on the line, or lights flickering without electrical cause. The Patterson Inn's history contributes significantly to its haunted reputation. Built during an era of opulence and excess, it was home to families whose lives were steeped in wealth, influence, and social prominence. The transition from private mansion to boutique hotel brought new energy into the space, but the original residents' attachments appear to have lingered. Paranormal enthusiasts suggest that the mansion's past combined with the memories embedded in its walls and furnishings creates an environment conducive to supernatural activity. Ultimately, the Patterson Inn offers a unique convergence of history, luxury, and the unexplained. Guests and staff alike report experiences that challenge conventional understanding, from footsteps on empty staircases to doors moving on their own, from fleeting shadows to delicate floral scents drifting through hallways. These phenomena transform the inn from a simple hotel into a space where the past is alive, inviting visitors to witness the echoes of history firsthand. For those who enter the Patterson Inn, the experience is both elegant and unsettling. Its grand architecture, meticulously preserved furnishings, and boutique charm create a sense of comfort, yet the subtle presence of unseen residents keeps guests aware that they are sharing the space with something beyond the ordinary. The staircase creaks under invisible footsteps, the perfume lingers long after the visitor has passed, and shadows glide just beyond perception, forming a delicate balance between the past and the present, the living and the spectral. The Denver Firefighters Museum, located in a historic firehouse in the heart of the city, is a tribute to the brave men and women who have served Denver's community for over a century. Housed in a building that dates back to the early 1900s, the museum preserves antique fire engines, vintage firefighting equipment, and artifacts that chronicle the evolution of the fire department. By day, it is a bustling educational center, welcoming families, school groups, and history enthusiasts eager to learn about the heroic legacy of Denver's firefighters. Yet beyond the polished exhibits and well-curated displays, the museum harbors a reputation for paranormal activity, drawing ghost hunters and curious visitors alike. who seek encounters with the unexplained. The most commonly reported phenomena revolve around the movement of tools and equipment. Staff members have described seeing axes, helmets, and hoses subtly shift positions when no one is present. Occasionally, fire hooks and ladders, which are heavy and cumbersome, appear to have been nudged or repositioned inexplicably. Museum personnel often find themselves checking rooms multiple times, convinced that an overzealous visitor has tampered with the displays, only to discover that the museum is entirely empty. These incidents are most frequent after hours, when the building is silent and the ambient sounds of the city fade into the distance, leaving the firehouse's original creaks and groans amplified in the stillness. Equally unnerving are the sounds of boots clanging on the stairs, a phenomenon reported repeatedly by staff. The museum's old wooden staircases, once used by firefighters racing to respond to emergencies, seem to resonate with the rhythm of footsteps even when no one is ascending or descending. These sounds are often accompanied by the creak of doors opening and closing in areas where no activity is expected. Employees have recounted pausing mid-task, listening as the unmistakable clatter of boots echoes through the halls, only for the noise to vanish as quickly as it appeared. Visitors who have been present during these occurrences describe a chilling sensation, as though the firefighters themselves are still moving through the building, eternally vigilant. Many staff and visitors report feeling an unseen presence, particularly in areas associated with the museum's most historic exhibits. The rooms displaying antique fire engines, old leather hoses, and brass helmets are frequently cited as hotspots for paranormal activity. Some describe the sensation of being watched, as if the eyes of long-departed firefighters are following their every move. The effect is subtle but unmistakable. A shiver that runs down the spine, a sudden drop in temperature, or the hair standing on the back of the neck. These sensations often coincide with other phenomena, such as the unexplained movement of objects or the distant sound of machinery coming to life. Certain rooms are particularly active, such as the apparatus bay, where fire engines were once housed. Visitors have reported seeing shadowy figures standing near the vehicles, only to vanish when approached. The figures are sometimes described as tall, dressed in traditional firefighter uniforms, with helmets gleaming faintly in the dim light. Others have seen reflections in glass display cases that do not match any living person present, leaving them to wonder if the museum's past heroes are subtly interacting with the present. Auditory phenomena extend beyond footsteps and echoes. Some witnesses describe hearing muffled voices and commands, reminiscent of the shouts of firefighters coordinating a response during emergencies. These sounds are often faint and distant, seeming to emanate from the walls themselves or from areas of the building long unused. Occasionally, the voices are accompanied by the metallic clanging of equipment, further reinforcing the illusion that the firehouse is active despite being empty. Staff who have spent late nights alone report the eerie impression of drills or orders being given, only to find the corridors silent when they investigate. The museum's history contributes to the intensity of these experiences. The building served as a working firehouse for decades, a place of high stakes, adrenaline, and, at times, tragedy. Firefighters risked and occasionally lost their lives in service to the city, and the energy of those experiences is thought by some to have left a residual imprint. Visitors who are aware of this history often approach the museum with a heightened sense of respect and awareness. Sensing that they are walking through more than just a historical exhibit, they are traversing a space where courage, danger, and memory linger in tangible forms. Interestingly, the paranormal activity reported at the Denver Firefighters Museum is rarely described as malevolent. The sounds, shadows, and movements often convey a sense of presence rather than threat. Many visitors interpret these phenomena as echoes of duty, reminders that the firefighters' commitment to their city continues even after death. There is a sense of guardianship in the experiences reported, as if the spirits are silently observing, ensuring that the legacy of their service is honored. Photographs and recordings taken within the museum have sometimes captured anomalies, including faint orbs, shadowy shapes, and distorted reflections in the glass cases housing historical artifacts. While skeptics argue that lighting, dust, or camera artifacts can explain these effects, the regularity of such occurrences across multiple exhibits and independent accounts lends credibility to the idea that the museum is alive with the energy of its past inhabitants. Ultimately, the Denver Firefighters Museum offers more than a glimpse into the city's firefighting history, offers a connection to those who walked the halls, climbed the ladders, and answered the alarms long before it became a museum. Visitors and staff alike leave with the impression that the building is not merely a static collection of artifacts, but a living repository of memories, courage, and lingering spirits. The echoes of boots, the movement of tools, and the whisper of voices all serve as reminders that the heroes of Denver's past are never truly gone. For those who step into the museum after hours, the experience is haunting, humbling, and unforgettable. Every creak of the stairs, every clatter of metal, and every subtle presence reinforces the idea that the Denver Firefighters Museum is a place where history and the supernatural intersect, a space where the bravery of the living continues to resonate through the spectral echoes of the past. The Croke-Patterson Mansion, built in 1890, stands as a testament to Denver's Gilded Age, an ornate and sprawling residence that reflects the grandeur and ambition of its original owners. Its architecture is a blend of Victorian elegance and classical detailing, with sweeping staircases, high ceilings, and expansive windows overlooking manicured gardens. Over the decades, the mansion has changed hands multiple times, serving as a private residence, a venue for gatherings, and eventually a site of public tours. Yet beneath its opulent exterior lies a history marked by tragedy and unexplained phenomena, earning it a reputation as one of Denver's most haunted properties. The mansion's dark reputation partly stems from a tragic incident during a renovation. According to local lore, two of the family's beloved dogs leaped to their deaths from the third story, their sudden and mysterious demise casting a shadow over the household. While some dismiss the story as rumor, visitors and staff have long reported sensing a lingering sorrow in the upper floors, particularly around the areas where the dog's presence was once most felt. Many describe an inexplicable heaviness in the air, a sense of mourning that is palpable even when the mansion is empty. One of the most frequently reported phenomena is the sound of disembodied voices. Guests walking through the hallways late at night have claimed to hear conversations in rooms where no one is present. The voices are often indistinct whispers of names, muffled arguments, or low murmurs, but the effect is chilling, creating the sensation that the mansion itself is alive with echoes of the past. Staff members have also reported hearing footsteps pacing the hallways, particularly on the upper floors, even when security checks confirm that the mansion is vacant. These sounds are typically subtle at first, but they often grow louder, as if the unseen presence is drawing attention to itself. Another common occurrence involves objects moving on their own. Chandeliers may sway slightly, doors creak open without cause, and personal items or furniture occasionally shift from their original positions. Staff have recounted experiences where decorative objects were found displaced in rooms previously secured for the evening, suggesting that the mansion's past residents saw something connected to them remain active within its walls. These movements are never violent, but their unpredictability adds a constant layer of tension for those walking through the mansion after dark. Perhaps the most striking reports involve sightings of Thomas Patterson, the mansion's original owner. Guests and employees alike have described glimpsing a tall, distinguished man wandering the grounds, particularly near the gardens and the driveway. Patterson is often seen in period-appropriate attire, a suit and vest typical of the late 19th century. And some witnesses report that he pauses as though observing the property before fading into the shadows. While these apparitions are not hostile, they are undeniably unsettling, offering the impression that the mansion's history refuses to remain confined to old photographs and documents. The mansion's architecture and layout contribute to its haunting atmosphere. Its tall ceilings, narrow corridors, and intricate staircases create acoustics that amplify even the smallest sounds. A whisper from one room can travel to the other side of a hallway. Footsteps echo more than expected, and doors naturally creak in ways that can be mistaken for activity. When combined with the mansion's storied history, these features create an immersive experience, one where visitors cannot help but feel a connection to those who lived and sometimes died within the walls. Several rooms on the third floor are considered especially active. Many believe that this area retains the strongest connection to past tragedies, including the deaths of the dogs. Guests report cold drafts, sudden drops in temperature, and the sensation of unseen eyes watching them. Some have seen shadows pass by the ornate windows or along the walls, moving with a deliberate grace that suggests consciousness. Objects in these rooms have been reported to move in ways that seem intentional, as if the mansion's unseen residents are interacting with the living, guiding their attention to particular spots, or simply making their presence known. The mansion's grounds are equally notable for paranormal activity. Thomas Patterson is most frequently seen outside, strolling the gardens or standing near the carriage house. Visitors have also reported hearing footsteps crunching gravel or the soft rustle of clothing on the lawns. Despite the absence of anyone nearby, some claim to see fleeting shadows between trees or catch glimpses of a figure leaning against the mansion's balconies. Even the mansion's fountains and gazebos have been linked to unexplained occurrences, from sudden chills to faint whispers, adding to the pervasive sense of history and mystery. Interestingly, the activity at the Croke-Patterson mansion is rarely malevolent. Guests often describe the phenomena as observant rather than threatening a presence that reminds visitors of the mansion's past rather than endangering them. The sounds, sights, and movements seem to create a dialogue between past and present, allowing those who enter to witness echoes of life that once thrived within the property. Many visitors find the experience both unsettling and captivating, leaving with a profound sense of connection to a bygone era. Ultimately, the Croke-Patterson mansion is more than a historic home. It is a living repository of memories, tragedies, and lingering presences. From the tragic leaps of the dogs to the whispered voices in the corridors, from the shifting objects to the sightings of Thomas Patterson himself, every corner of the mansion tells a story. Visitors and staff alike leave with the realization that history at the mansion is not static. It continues to unfold, felt in the creaks of floors, the movement of objects, and the faint brush of spirits past. For those who step inside, the Croke-Patterson mansion offers a unique experience, a blend of history, elegance, and the supernatural, where the boundary between the living and the spectral is permeable, and where every footstep, whisper, and shadow serves as a reminder that the mansion's past is never truly gone. It is a place where memory lingers, tragedy echoes, and the unseen continues to call the mansion home. The Denver Children's Home, established in 1876, stands as both a historic institution and a site shrouded in mystery. For nearly a century and a half, it has provided care and shelter for Denver's most vulnerable children, offering a place of safety, education, and support. Its red brick architecture and sprawling grounds reflect the era of its founding, a time when charitable institutions were both a social necessity and a symbol of civic pride. Yet behind its noble mission lies a history intertwined with loss, hardship, and, according to many who have spent time within its walls, the lingering presence of spirits. Visitors and staff alike have reported the unsettling phenomenon of children's laughter echoing through empty hallways. These sounds are described as joyful at first, almost innocent, yet there is an underlying quality that hints at a deeper sadness. Staff recount moments when they were alone in the building, the laughter ringing out from the corridors or playrooms, only to find no children present. The voices sometimes seem to move through the building, rising from one floor and vanishing as they reach another, leaving a strange mixture of nostalgia and unease in their wake. Figures darting just out of sight are another commonly reported phenomenon. Shadowy silhouettes, often resembling children, have been seen fleetingly at the edges of vision. They appear in hallways, stairwells, and classrooms, disappearing when approached. Witnesses describe the movements as purposeful but fleeting, as if the spirits are interacting with the living on their own terms, cautious but present. Some staff have claimed to see a small figure standing by a doorway or peering from a window, only for it to vanish the moment they turn their gaze. These sightings, while brief, leave an indelible impression, a reminder of the home's long history of both care and sorrow. The architecture of the Denver Children's Home contributes significantly to its haunted atmosphere. High ceilings, long corridors, and wooden floors create natural echoes, amplifying the sounds of footsteps, laughter, and whispers. Drafts and temperature changes often occur in specific areas of the building, particularly near old playrooms or unused dormitories, leading some to speculate that these are residual energies left behind by past residents. Even in rooms that have been converted for modern use, visitors report the sensation of cold spots or sudden chills, as if unseen presences are moving through the space. One of the most active areas is the upper dormitory floors, where children once slept and played. Staff have described hearing faint singing, the turning of pages in books left on shelves, or the soft scraping of furniture. Objects are occasionally found slightly displaced, though no one is present to explain the movement. Many who have experienced these events describe a sense of watchfulness, as if the spirits are observing rather than threatening, maintaining a presence that is simultaneously comforting and eerie. Classrooms, too, hold stories of the unexplained. Chalkboards sometimes appear wiped clean or show faint marks, as if a lesson had been written and erased by invisible hands. Toys are occasionally found out of place, and the echoes of giggles or whispers can be heard even when the rooms are vacant. The pattern of activity often follows the routines that once existed in the home, with playtime, nap time, and study periods seemingly mirrored by the spirits' appearances and sounds. Staff members often speak of a peculiar energy that pervades the building, one that seems tied to the children who once lived there. While the institution was a place of care, it was also a home to children who faced illness, loss, and hardship. Paranormal researchers and visitors alike speculate that the spirits may be drawn to the familiar rhythms of daily life, repeating gestures and sounds that were once a part of their existence. This residual energy gives the Denver Children's Home an atmosphere of both melancholy and continuity, a living connection to its historical purpose. The grounds surrounding the home are also said to be active with paranormal phenomena. Footsteps along gravel paths, the swinging of empty playground swings, and faint voices carried by the wind all contribute to the sense that the spirits of the past remain close. Witnesses describe seeing fleeting shapes in the yard or catching glimpses of small figures peering from windows, always just out of reach. Even in daylight, there is a sense of presence, as though the land itself remembers the lives that were lived within the institution's care. Interestingly, the experiences reported at the Denver Children's Home are not generally malevolent. Visitors and staff frequently describe the phenomena as observant or playful rather than threatening. The laughter, whispers, and fleeting figures often convey a lingering innocence, a reminder of the children who once called the building home. While the sensations can be unnerving, many interpret them as echoes of joy, curiosity, and memory, a spectral footprint of the lives that shaped the institution. Photographs and recordings taken within the building sometimes capture anomalies, such as orbs of light, blurred figures, or faint shadow shapes. While skeptics may attribute these to lighting, dust, or camera artifacts, the consistency of eyewitness accounts across decades suggests a pattern that defies easy explanation. Paranormal investigators note that the phenomena often correspond to historically significant areas of the building, reinforcing the connection between the home's history and its current spectral activity. Ultimately, the Denver Children's Home is more than a historic institution. It is a place where history and the supernatural intersect, from laughter echoing through empty halls to shadowy figures darting out of sight. Every sound, movement, and presence serves as a reminder that the lives of its former residents continue to leave an imprint. Visitors are offered a unique experience, a glimpse into the past, a connection to those who once walked its corridors, and an encounter with the unseen energies that linger long after the building's original inhabitants have passed. The Byers-Avens House Museum, nestled in the heart of Denver, stands as a preserved window into the city's late 19th century elegance. Built in 1883 by William Byers, a prominent figure in Denver's early history, and later expanded by the Evans family. The house showcases period architecture, intricate woodwork, and richly furnished rooms that reflect the tastes and lifestyles of Denver's elite during that era. Visitors to the museum often come to admire its historical artifacts, fine art, and period furnishings. But many leave with a lingering sense that the house holds more than just echoes of the past. Over the years, reports of paranormal activity have surfaced, suggesting that the spirits of former residents continue to inhabit the house, observing the living while walking the halls of their former home. One of the most commonly reported phenomena at the Byers-Evans house is the sudden and inexplicable chills that descend upon certain rooms. Visitors have described feeling an abrupt drop in temperature, even on warm summer days, often accompanied by the sensation of being watched. These cold spots are particularly frequent near the master bedroom and the study, areas once central to the lives of the Byers and Evans families. Some believe that the temperature shifts are more than natural drafts, they are residual energies left behind by the house's long-deceased residents, lingering in spaces where their lives were most active. In addition to temperature anomalies, numerous visitors and staff have reported sightings of apparitions resembling former inhabitants. These figures are most often seen in the grand parlor and along the sweeping corridors that connect the house's various wings. Witnesses describe shadowy silhouettes of men and women dressed in period clothing, often moving deliberately as if performing tasks from another era. Some have seen a woman in a long Victorian dress, tending to the fireplace or arranging objects on a table, only to disappear when approached. Others report glimpsing a man in a waistcoat and bowler hat, walking through the hallway, vanishing into the walls or fading as he reaches a corner. These sightings are fleeting, yet consistent, lending the house an air of mystery and continuity with the past. Staff and docents at the museum frequently speak of objects moving on their own. Books, candlesticks, and small decorative items occasionally shift positions, sometimes appearing in completely different rooms. Visitors have recounted experiences in which chairs seem slightly rotated, drawers partially open, or photographs tilted as though an invisible hand had adjusted them. While some movement could be attributed to vibrations or minor structural settling, the frequency and specificity of these occurrences suggest a supernatural origin. Guests often report an odd combination of curiosity and apprehension, sensing that the house itself is alive with residual energy. The house's hallways and staircases are also focal points of paranormal activity. Visitors have described hearing footsteps echoing along empty corridors, sometimes accompanied by faint whispers or murmurs. These sounds are most pronounced during quiet hours, particularly in the evenings when the museum is closed to the public. Many people report a sensation of being followed or observed while walking through the narrow passageways, adding to the atmosphere of unease and anticipation. The acoustics of the old wooden floors and high ceilings only serve to amplify these effects, making even the slightest creak or shuffle seem purposeful. The Byers-Evans house, museums, parlor, and dining areas hold a special reputation among visitors. Reports of faint laughter, soft voices, and the rustling of fabric are common, often occurring when no living person is present. Some guests have described feeling a subtle pressure in the room, as though invisible figures are seated nearby or moving about the space. Others have sensed a presence brushing past them, only to find themselves alone when they turn to look. These experiences are generally described as non-threatening but undeniably unnerving, leaving visitors with a heightened awareness of the house's layered history. In the bedrooms, particularly those located on the upper floors, some guests have reported seeing shadowy figures moving near the windows or beds. Lights may flicker unexpectedly, or objects may subtly shift during their stay. Many staff members note that these experiences are concentrated in rooms historically associated with the family's daily routines, suggesting that the spirits are drawn to spaces they once occupied and cherished. Guests often interpret the phenomena as a form of lingering presence, a connection between the living and those who once called the house home. Even the artwork and historical artifacts seem to play a role in the paranormal activity. Some visitors claim to feel a subtle energy emanating from paintings or objects, particularly those associated with family portraits or items that held personal significance to the Byers or Evans families. Photographs, paintings, and period furnishings occasionally appear slightly altered or displaced, and some witnesses describe a faint sense of recognition, as though the house itself is acknowledging their presence. Despite these eerie occurrences, the Byers-Evans House Museum is rarely described as threatening. Most reports depict the experiences as observational or residual, offering glimpses into the lives of those who once inhabited the space. The apparitions, cold spots, and shifting objects are seen as echoes of a bygone era, a reminder that the history of the home is still present and perceptible to those who enter. Visitors often leave with a profound sense of connection, a feeling that the house retains its memories and continues to share them quietly with the living. Ultimately, the Byers-Evans House Museum is more than a repository of historical artifacts. It is a living testament to Denver's past, where the presence of former residents can still be felt in whispers, shadows, and sudden chills. The house bridges the gap between history and the supernatural, allowing visitors to experience the city's rich heritage while encountering the lingering energies of those who once walked its halls. In every corner, from the grand parlor to the upper bedrooms, the Byers-Evans house offers a hauntingly immersive journey, a place where the past and the present coexist, and where the echoes of former lives continue to resonate through time. The Tivoli Union Building, located on Denver's Auraria campus, is a unique blend of history and modern student life. Originally constructed as part of the Tivoli Brewery complex, it has long been a landmark in the city, a reminder of Denver's rich brewing heritage. The brewery, established in the late 19th century, was once a bustling hub of activity, producing large quantities of beer and hosting workers who labored long hours within its stone and brick walls. Today, the building has been repurposed to serve students, housing administrative offices, study spaces, and student services. Yet, beneath its contemporary function lies a lingering presence of its past, a subtle but persistent reminder that the brewery's energy never truly left the building. One of the most frequently reported phenomena by students is the sound of clinking glasses and bottles, echoing through empty hallways. During late hours, when the building is quiet and corridors are vacant, the faint, rhythmic clatter of glass can be heard, as if brewery workers are still performing their tasks from decades past. Students have described pausing listening intently as the sounds move through the building, only to vanish when they attempt to locate the source. Staff who remain after hours have confirmed these accounts, noting that no event or maintenance activity could explain the repeated occurrences. Accompanying the auditory phenomena is a distinct smell of beer, often appearing in areas that were historically part of the brewing process. Students and staff report a sudden, unmistakable scent of hops and malt drifting through hallways, study areas, or near former storage rooms. The aroma is fleeting, disappearing as quickly as it arrives, leaving those who detect it both intrigued and uneasy. Some speculate that these sensory experiences are a form of residual energy, traces of the countless hours spent brewing, bottling, and celebrating in the building. In addition to sounds and smells, many visitors report experiencing a sense of presence, particularly in spaces connected to the brewery's operational past. Hallways, stairwells, and former production areas often evoke the feeling of being watched, as if unseen figures are moving just out of sight. Students walking through these areas late at night have reported shadows darting across walls, indistinct shapes lingering near doorways, and fleeting glimpses of figures that vanish upon direct observation. While these encounters are brief, they leave a lasting impression, reinforcing the building's haunted reputation. The building's architecture contributes significantly to the haunting atmosphere. Exposed brick walls, high ceilings, and narrow corridors create natural acoustics that carry sound far beyond its origin. Even the smallest footstep or object shift resonates through the building, magnifying the impact of any unexpected noise. The combination of historic design elements and modern renovations creates a juxtaposition that enhances the perception of the supernatural. Old echoes mix seamlessly with present-day activity, making it difficult at times to discern the living from the lingering past. Students have also reported objects moving unexpectedly. Chairs are sometimes found out of place, doors left slightly ajar, or papers shifted on desks without explanation. While these occurrences could occasionally be attributed to carelessness or cleaning activities, the frequency and pattern of the events suggest something beyond mere chance. Staff members who have worked in the building for years acknowledge the anomalies, describing a building that seems to have a personality of its own, one that interacts subtly with its occupants. Some of the most active areas are rooms that were formerly used for fermentation and storage. These spaces are often quieter than the rest of the building, enhancing the perception of isolation. Visitors report hearing faint echoes of activity, footsteps pacing the floor, or the distant hiss of machinery that has not operated for decades. Shadows are often glimpsed near walls or stairwells, moving with a deliberate purpose. Even in these quieter corners, the building seems alive with the history of its past occupants, maintaining a connection to the labor and life that once filled the brewery. The student experience of the Tivoli Union building adds another layer to the phenomenon. Many who spend long hours studying late into the night describe moments of distraction caused by the subtle, inexplicable occurrences. A rustle in the hallway, a brief scent of hops, or the faint echo of clinking glass can startle the most focused minds, creating a sense of mystery and awe. These experiences are often shared among students as stories, becoming part of the campus lore and contributing to the building's growing reputation as a haunted site. Interestingly, the paranormal activity at the Tivoli Union building is rarely malevolent. Most students describe the phenomena as curious or playful, remnants of the energy from the brewery's bustling days rather than hostile presences. The sounds, scents, and fleeting shadows are interpreted as reminders of the building's history, a spectral memory of the people who worked and celebrated within its walls. The experience often evokes fascination rather than fear, drawing visitors into a dialogue with the past, allowing them to sense the layers of life that preceded them. Ultimately, the Tivoli Union building is more than a functional campus structure. It is a living monument to Denver's brewing history, where echoes of labor, laughter, and celebration persist long after the original occupants have gone. From the clinking of glasses to the lingering scent of beer, from fleeting shadows to the sensation of unseen eyes, the building continues to carry the imprints of its past. Students, staff, and visitors alike leave with the realization that they are walking through a space where history and the supernatural intertwine, where the energy of the past is woven into the present, and where the stories of the brewery never truly end. The Grant Humphreys Mansion, perched atop a quiet hill in Denver, is a striking example of early 20th century elegance and grandeur. Built in 1902, the mansion was originally commissioned by James Grant, a prominent businessman, and later became the home of the Humphreys family, who were influential figures in Colorado's social and political circles. With its sweeping staircases, ornate chandeliers, and expansive gardens, the mansion has hosted countless dignitaries, social events, and elegant gatherings. Today, it serves as a historic house museum, allowing visitors to step back in time and experience the luxury and sophistication of Denver's early elite. Yet beneath its refined exterior lies a mysterious side, as many visitors and staff have reported experiences that suggest the mansion is still alive with the echoes of its past. One of the most commonly reported phenomena is the sound of whispers in empty rooms. Guests exploring the mansion often speak of hearing hushed conversations, murmurs, or indistinct voices while walking through grand parlors, hallways, and drawing rooms. The whispers are typically faint and fleeting, disappearing whenever someone attempts to locate the source. Some have described them as fragments of conversations from another time, while others interpret them as an echo of the mansion's countless social gatherings, a residue of the energy from lively parties, discussions, and debates that once filled the rooms. Another frequently reported occurrence is the sensation of being watched. Visitors have noted a feeling of eyes following them as they move from room to room, particularly near the large bay windows that overlook the gardens. On several occasions, guests claim to have glimpsed shadowy figures standing silently behind the glass, watching the activities inside. When approached, the figures vanish without a trace, leaving behind an unsettling mix of curiosity and unease. Staff who work in the mansion for extended periods often describe similar experiences, noting that the sensation is strongest in the evening, when the halls are quiet and the mansion's atmosphere seems to deepen. The mansion's architecture amplifies the mysterious phenomena. Its high ceilings, wide corridors, and polished wooden floors create natural echoes, making footsteps and faint noises carry far beyond their origin. Even minor sounds can take on a ghostly quality in the quiet, enhancing the sense of presence. The ornate staircases and multiple rooms with interconnected layouts also contribute to the feeling that unseen entities are moving through the space, creating a subtle but persistent sense that the mansion is inhabited by more than just living visitors. Many reports involve shadowy figures glimpsed in peripheral vision or across the mansion's grand rooms. Witnesses have described seeing silhouettes resembling men in early 20th century suits and women in long, flowing dresses, standing near doorways, along hallways, or by the large windows. These figures often appear for only a moment, vanishing when attention is focused directly on them. Some visitors report that the figures seem to observe them with intent, pausing as though waiting for interaction, only to dissolve into the shadows before contact is made. The mansion's ballroom and parlor are particularly active areas. Guests exploring these spaces after hours have reported faint echoes of music, as if a distant piano or string ensemble is playing. The sound is often accompanied by the soft murmur of voices and the occasional scent of perfume, as if the mansion's elegant social events are replaying in spectral form. Objects, too, have been observed moving slightly on tables or shelves, as if an unseen hand were adjusting them, maintaining the order and decorum that once characterized the mansion's social gatherings. Staircases, corridors, and upper rooms are often reported as hotspots for paranormal activity. Visitors have experienced sudden chills, inexplicable drafts, or the sound of footsteps pacing when no one is present. Some have felt a light brush on their shoulders or sensed an invisible presence passing close by. These encounters are generally non-threatening but leave a lasting impression, reinforcing the mansion's reputation as a place where the past lingers in tangible ways. Even the gardens and exterior windows play a role in the mansion's haunted reputation. On quiet evenings, some guests have claimed to see figures moving along the terraces or standing near the large windows, only to disappear when approached. The effect is subtle yet persistent, creating an unsettling connection between the mansion's interior and the surrounding landscape. Shadows cast by trees and decorative ironwork often enhance the impression that someone or something is watching from the grounds. Interestingly, the experiences at the Grant Humphreys mansion are generally described as observational rather than malevolent. The apparitions, whispers, and moving objects seem to carry the energy of the mansion's past inhabitants, allowing modern visitors to sense the lives and routines of those who once resided there. Rather than causing fear or harm, the activity often evokes a sense of connection to the mansion's history, making the presence of spirits feel like an extension of the building's identity rather than an intrusion. Ultimately, the Grant Humphreys mansion is more than a historic house. It is a living testament to Denver's past, where echoes of conversation, glimpses of figures, and the subtle movements of objects allow visitors to step back in time, from whispers in empty rooms to shadowy figures observing from windows. Every creak, chill, and fleeting presence serves as a reminder that the mansion is not only a monument to history, but also a space where the spirits of its past continue to linger. Guests leave with the impression that the mansion's walls remember, its halls echo, and its windows watch, forever keeping the legacy of its former residents alive. The Denver Botanic Gardens, renowned for its vibrant displays of flowers, winding paths, and serene landscapes, is a sanctuary for nature lovers and tourists alike. Visitors stroll through themed gardens, admire exotic plant collections, and escape the bustle of city life in its peaceful surrounding. Yet beneath the beauty and tranquility lies a history steeped in mystery and the supernatural. The grounds were once part of Mount Prospect Cemetery, a burial site dating back to the 19th century. Though the cemetery was eventually decommissioned and relocated, not all the souls were said to have departed, leaving the gardens imbued with lingering energies that some visitors find difficult to ignore. Many who wander the Denver Botanic Gardens after hours report seeing ghostly figures moving among the plants. These apparitions often appear as transparent silhouettes of men, women, and children, dressed in period attire. They are typically glimpsed near the older, more secluded areas of the gardens, particularly along winding paths lined with towering trees or near historic stone features that predate the landscaping. Some visitors have seen figures pausing as if examining the flowers, while others appear to move with purpose, walking in lines or gestures reminiscent of processions from another time. The figures vanish when approached, leaving only a lingering sense of presence. Whispers carried by the wind are another common phenomenon reported within the gardens. Guests describe soft, indistinct murmurs, sometimes echoing through the flower beds or rustling the leaves of ancient trees. The voices often appear human but fragmented, like fragments of conversations or prayers from the past. Many visitors feel compelled to pause and listen, sensing that the words are directed at them or meant to convey messages from a bygone era. These whispers are most noticeable in quiet moments, when the gardens are empty and the only sound is the subtle movement of foliage. The history of the site, as Mount Prospect Cemetery, contributes significantly to its haunted atmosphere. Before becoming the Botanic Gardens, the land held hundreds of graves, many of them relocated over time. It is believed that some of the original interments remained, their spirits tethered to the earth where they once rested. The juxtaposition of life and death, the vibrant flora above ground, and the silent occupants below creates a layered experience for visitors, where the beauty of the gardens is subtly tinged with melancholy and mystery. Several areas of the gardens are known to be hotspots for paranormal activity. The older rock formations, water features, and shaded groves are particularly prone to unusual occurrences. Visitors have reported cold spots that appear suddenly, even on warm summer days, and the sensation of being watched while walking alone along certain paths. Shadows are frequently glimpsed at the edge of vision, moving just out of sight, as if unseen figures are following silently. These experiences are often fleeting but leave a lasting impression on those who witness them. Garden staff have also reported objects moving inexplicably. Small garden tools, benches, or decorative items occasionally shift positions, appearing as though guided by unseen hands. While some of these movements may have natural explanations, their consistency over time, especially in secluded areas of the gardens, has led many to believe that the spirits of Mount Prospect Cemetery still interact with their surroundings. The movements are subtle and non-threatening, adding to the impression that the energy lingering on the grounds is observational rather than malevolent. Visitors have occasionally encountered figures near the original cemetery plots, where stone markers and historical plaques remain as reminders of the land's previous purpose. Some describe seeing children playing among the flowers, their forms translucent and fleeting, while others report the sudden appearance of a man or woman standing solemnly, only to vanish when looked at directly. Even the sounds of the gardens, the trickle of fountains, the rustle of leaves sometimes take on a haunting quality, carrying whispers or laughter that seem out of place in the natural setting. The sensory experience of the gardens often heightens the sense of the supernatural. The aroma of flowers, combined with the subtle sense of earth and water, creates an immersive environment in which the spirits seem almost tangible. Cold drafts, shifting shadows, and sudden movements of plants can amplify the feeling that the past is present, intertwining the living landscape with echoes of the cemetery that once occupied the site. Many visitors leave the gardens with a profound sense that they have encountered not just the beauty of nature, but the lingering souls that quietly inhabit it. Despite the eerie occurrences, the energy in the Denver Botanic Gardens is generally described as peaceful and reflective rather than threatening. The apparitions, whispers, and subtle movements of objects are often interpreted as echoes of life rather than malevolent forces. Visitors report feeling a connection to history, a sense of reverence for the lives that once rested beneath the ground, and an understanding that the gardens serve as a bridge between past and present. Ultimately, the Denver Botanic Gardens is more than a collection of plants and flowers. It is a living monument to memory and history, where the remnants of Mount Prospect Cemetery linger in quiet, ethereal ways. From ghostly figures drifting among the flora to whispers in the wind and cold spots along shaded paths, the gardens offer a hauntingly immersive experience. Visitors are invited to witness the intertwining of life and death, nature and history, and to feel the subtle presence of those who remain tethered to the land, in every bloom, shadow, and whisper. The Denver Botanic Gardens reminds us that the past has never truly gone. It lives on, quietly, among the plants, waiting to be seen, heard, and remembered. The Denver Museum of Nature and Science, a beloved institution for families and tourists alike, is known for its impressive exhibits. From towering dinosaur skeletons to immersive space displays, visitors come to explore the wonders of the natural world, marvel at scientific discoveries, and engage with interactive educational experiences. Yet behind the excitement and bright lights, there exists a darker, more mysterious side to the museum. For decades, staff and occasional visitors have reported unsettling occurrences that suggest the museum is not only a repository of knowledge, but also a space where unseen presences linger. One of the most commonly reported phenomena involves the sound of footsteps echoing through empty halls. Late at night, after the museum has closed to the public, staff have described hearing the soft, deliberate tread of shoes on polished floors, moving from one exhibit to another. These sounds are often accompanied by the sensation that someone is walking just behind them or pacing silently in a distant corridor. When investigated, the hallways are invariably empty, leaving staff with a profound sense that the echoes of past visitors saw something entirely unseen remain within the museum's walls. Alongside the footsteps, many have reported seeing shadows moving in the corners of their eyes. These fleeting glimpses often occur near large exhibits, such as the dinosaur halls or mineral displays, where dim lighting and large structures create deep shadows. Visitors and staff alike describe feeling a presence just out of view, catching movement in peripheral vision that disappears the moment they attempt to focus on it. The shadows often appear humanoid in shape, gliding along walls or stepping behind exhibits, reinforcing the sensation that the museum is being quietly observed. Some staff have reported cold spots and sudden chills while walking through certain parts of the museum, particularly in areas that are rarely visited by the public. These temperature drops are sudden and localized, leaving a distinct contrast to the otherwise climate-controlled environment. Employees often describe the feeling of invisible eyes on them, as though the museum itself is alive with residual energy from decades of visitors, staff, and perhaps even the spirits of those long gone. These experiences are usually brief, but leave a lingering impression of unease. The museum's layout and architecture contribute to the eerie atmosphere. High ceilings, wide halls, and interconnected exhibit rooms amplify sounds, making footsteps, whispers, and faint knocks carry far distances. The labyrinthine nature of certain exhibits allows for sudden disappearances of peripheral movements, adding to the sense that shadows are flitting just beyond detection. In the dinosaur hall, the massive skeletons create towering silhouettes, which, combined with dim lighting in some areas, enhance the impression of figures moving among the bones. Many of the paranormal occurrences are concentrated in the museum's older wings, where exhibits were first installed decades ago. Staff working late in these areas have reported doors opening or closing on their own, lights flickering without explanation, and objects appearing slightly out of place. Some have heard the faint clatter of tools or materials from exhibit maintenance rooms, even when no one is present. These subtle but consistent anomalies have made employees wary of working alone during late hours, particularly in the less trafficked corridors of the museum. Visitors have occasionally experienced strange visual phenomena as well. Some report seeing faint, mist-like figures hovering near exhibits, particularly near the older natural history displays. Others have noticed reflections in glass cases that don't match their own movements, or shadows that move independently of the objects around them, adding to the museum's growing reputation for paranormal activity. One of the more unsettling aspects of the Denver Museum of Nature and Science is the sense that these occurrences are observational rather than malevolent. The footsteps, shadows, and chills rarely cause harm or direct confrontation. Instead, they create the impression of lingering presences, perhaps spirits of former visitors, staff, or even naturalists who once contributed to the museum's exhibits. The experiences are often described as a reminder of the museum's long history, a subtle echo of lives and activities that have passed but remain tethered to the place. The combination of scientific wonder and eerie phenomena makes the museum a unique space where history and the supernatural intersect. Visitors may come for dinosaurs, gems, and cosmic discoveries, but they leave with stories of ghostly encounters, unexplained sounds, and fleeting figures. Staff, who spend long hours in the museum, often speak of a heightened awareness of the building's energy, noting that even when the public has gone home, the museum feels alive in a way that transcends human activity. Ultimately, the Denver Museum of Nature and Science is more than an educational institution. It is a living archive of both knowledge and lingering presence. From the echo of footsteps in empty halls to shadows moving in the corners, the building invites curiosity not only about the natural world, but also about the unexplained phenomena that seem to inhabit its walls. Visitors experience a rare combination of fascination and unease, witnessing firsthand that even in a place devoted to science, some mysteries remain beyond explanation. The museum stands as a testament to both human discovery and the enduring presence of unseen energies. Where history, learning, and the supernatural quietly coexist, the Capitol Hill Mansion Bed and Breakfast, an elegant and historic home nestled in Denver's prestigious Capitol Hill neighborhood, has long been admired for its stately architecture, intricate woodwork, and charming period details. Built in the early 20th century, the mansion originally served as a private residence for a prominent family, hosting lavish parties and quiet afternoons alike. Today, it has been transformed into a bed and breakfast, welcoming guests from across the country who come to experience its blend of historic grandeur and modern comfort. Yet despite its inviting charm, the mansion has developed a reputation among visitors for hauntingly unexplained occurrences, hinting at the lingering presence of its past occupants. One of the most frequently reported experiences involves footsteps echoing along the grand staircases. Guests staying in the upper rooms often hear the soft, deliberate sound of someone descending or ascending the stairs late at night, only to find no one there. The wooden steps amplify each footfall, making it feel as if someone is walking directly behind them. Staff members have also reported hearing these phantom footsteps while performing evening duties, further confirming that the sounds are not the product of imagination. Many describe a sense that someone or something is moving through the mansion with purpose, unseen but undeniably present. In addition to the footsteps, guests have reported doors creaking open or closing on their own, often when rooms are empty or long after staff have secured the house for the night. Sometimes the doors swing slowly, as if moved by an invisible hand, and other times they slam shut suddenly, startling anyone nearby. These incidents are particularly common in the hallways connecting the mansion's guest rooms to the main parlor, a central hub of the home where family life once thrived. While some may attribute these occurrences to settling wood or drafty conditions, Their timing and frequency often leave guests convinced that the mansion has a life of its own. Many visitors also experience the unsettling sensation of being watched, especially in bedrooms and sitting areas. Guests often awaken in the middle of the night with the feeling that unseen eyes are observing them from a corner or just outside the doorway. Even in well-lit rooms, shadows can appear to shift unnaturally, creating the impression of a presence lingering in the periphery. This sensation is often accompanied by a heaviness in the chest or a subtle chill in the air, reinforcing the feeling that the mansion is more than a static, historic space. It is alive with lingering energy. The mansion's architecture contributes to the eerie atmosphere. High ceilings, long corridors, and polished hardwood floors create natural acoustics that carry sounds far from their origin. Every creak of a floorboard or shift of a breeze through an old window seems amplified, often lending ordinary noises an ominous quality. The design of the rooms, with interconnected parlors and guest chambers, allows for glimpses of movement in peripheral vision, which can make even small shadows appear ghostly. Visitors often describe feeling as though the walls themselves are observing, registering the presence of intruders in a space that has long been intimately familiar with its former residents. Objects moving inexplicably are another common report from guests and staff alike. Chairs may be found slightly rotated from their original positions. Decorative items may shift on shelves, and blankets or personal items sometimes appear disturbed. While these incidents could occasionally be explained by cleaning routines or vibrations from the house settling, their frequency and the sense of intention behind the movements have convinced many that they are the work of unseen residents maintaining their familiar things. The mansion's parlors and sitting rooms are particularly active areas. Guests have reported hearing faint murmurs, whispers, or even fragments of laughter in spaces where no one is present. These sounds are often described as distant and elusive, fading when someone tries to locate their source. Some visitors have also reported feeling a light brush or a sudden presence near them while reading or relaxing in the parlor, a sensation that disappears as quickly as it arrives. These subtle interactions contribute to the feeling that the mansion is inhabited not by malevolent spirits, but by those who linger with curiosity or a quiet desire to remain connected to their former home. Upstairs, in the guest bedrooms, the activity can feel more personal. Some guests have reported waking to find bedspreads slightly rumpled, as if someone had brushed against them. Others have heard quiet footsteps pacing outside their doors, or the soft hum of voices drifting through the walls. These experiences are often fleeting, leaving no physical evidence, but they are consistently described in guest reviews and staff reports, further solidifying the mansion's reputation as a haunted yet welcoming place. Interestingly, despite the paranormal occurrences, most visitors describe the mansion as inviting and fascinating rather than frightening. The spirits, if they exist, are generally perceived as benign, offering glimpses into the mansion's history and the lives of its former inhabitants. Guests often leave with a sense of connection, as though they have shared a space with those who once lived there, experiencing firsthand the echoes of past conversations, movements, and routines. Ultimately, the Capitol Hill Mansion Bed and Breakfast is more than just a historic lodging. It is a living testament to Denver's past, where the grandeur of early 20th century life is preserved and intertwined with the presence of those who once called it home. From footsteps on empty stairs to creaking doors and the sensation of unseen observers, every corner of the mansion hints at a lingering energy that refuses to fade. Visitors leave with memories of elegance and mystery, aware that they have slept, dined, and walked among the spirits of history, experiencing a place where the past and present coexist in a quietly haunting harmony. The Denver Art Museum, renowned for its striking architecture and impressive collection of art from around the world, is a hub for culture, creativity, and inspiration. Visitors come to marvel at classic masterpieces, contemporary installations, and the museum's unique design, which combines modern angular structures with historic buildings. Yet beneath the beauty and sophistication of the galleries lies a subtle undercurrent of the supernatural and enigmatic presence that has been reported by staff and guests alike for decades. Those who wander the museum's halls sometimes find themselves sensing more than just art. They feel the lingering presence of unseen observers, the echoes of past footsteps, and the inexplicable energy of a space alive in ways that go beyond the canvas. One of the most frequently reported experiences involves unexplained cold spots. These sudden drops in temperature appear in various galleries, often without warning or apparent source. Guests have described walking into a room filled with warmth and sunlight streaming through the windows, only to feel a sudden chill enveloping them. Staff members working late in the museum have confirmed these occurrences, noting that the cold spots often accompany other unusual phenomena, such as the subtle creak of floorboards or faint murmurs drifting through empty halls. The effect is disorienting, creating the unmistakable sense that the museum itself is observing and responding to those within it. Another common phenomenon involves flickering lights in areas of the museum that are otherwise well-maintained and fully functional. In the contemporary galleries, visitors have reported sudden dimming or flickering of overhead lights, sometimes accompanied by shadows that seem to move independently of the illumination. While modern electrical systems can occasionally produce minor glitches, the timing and consistency of these occurrences have led many to believe that something more inexplicable is at work. Guests have described watching a beam of light shift or flicker precisely as they pass through a gallery, giving the unsettling impression that the building itself is alive and aware of their presence. Perhaps the most pervasive and unnerving experience reported at the Denver Art Museum is the sensation of being watched. Visitors frequently describe feeling unseen eyes upon them, particularly in quieter galleries or near exhibits that are less trafficked. This sensation is often subtle, a prickling awareness at the back of the neck, or a feeling of being shadowed from the corner of one's vision. Some have even glanced to find a fleeting figure standing near a sculpture or painting, only to see it vanish when directly observed. Staff members who work late report similar experiences, often feeling a presence pacing silently behind them or hovering just out of view in the corners of galleries. The museum's architecture and layout play a significant role in amplifying these experiences. The combination of soaring ceilings, vast open galleries, and narrow connecting corridors creates an environment in which sound carries in unpredictable ways. The faintest footsteps, the rustle of a visitor's coat, or the soft hum of ventilation can be mistaken for more mysterious activity, especially when paired with the museum's natural shadows and the reflective surfaces of glass cases and polished floors. Visitors often report that shadows appear to move independently of objects or people, enhancing the sense of a spectral presence lurking just out of sight. Certain galleries are considered particularly active by those who have experienced these phenomena. The historic art wing, with its older structures and wooden floors, seems to carry the echoes of decades of visitors and staff. Guests walking alone through this section have reported hearing whispers or faint murmurs that cannot be explained by air currents or ambient noise. Staff members working late have occasionally seen objects, chairs, easels, or small decorative items shift slightly on their own, as if moved by invisible hands. While subtle, these occurrences are frequent enough to reinforce the idea that the museum is inhabited by lingering energies. Visitors have also reported fleeting visual phenomena, such as shadowy figures or ghostly outlines glimpsed at the edges of vision. These shapes are often humanoid, appearing near doorways, behind exhibits, or along the periphery of gallery spaces. They typically vanish when approached, leaving behind only a sense of unease and a lingering awareness that the museum's occupants are not entirely visible to the living eye. Some describe these figures as observing rather than interacting, silently watching the comings and goings of those who wander the halls. Interestingly, many of the supernatural experiences at the Denver Art Museum are described as curious rather than threatening. The cold spots, flickering lights, and shadows seem to be echoes of the museum's history. Residual energy from the countless visitors and staff who have walked its halls over the decades. Rather than causing fear, these encounters often evoke fascination and reflection, prompting visitors to feel a deeper connection to the building and its long history. Guests often report leaving with a renewed sense of wonder, not only at the art itself, but at the unseen layers of the museum's presence. Ultimately, the Denver Art Museum is more than a cultural landmark. It is a space where art and the inexplicable coexist. From sudden chills in empty galleries to flickering lights, moving shadows, and the sensation of unseen observers, the museum offers an immersive experience that extends beyond the visual realm. Guests and staff alike are reminded that even in a place dedicated to creativity and knowledge, some mysteries remain unsolved. The museum stands as a testament to both human imagination and the enduring presence of the past, where every painting, sculpture, and corridor may carry whispers of unseen visitors, quietly observing, subtly interacting, and leaving a lasting impression on all who enter. The Denver Mint, standing proudly in the heart of the city, is best known as one of the United States' primary coin-producing facilities. Day after day, machines roar and clink, churning out countless coins that make their way into circulation across the country. To many, the mint symbolizes precision, security, and national pride. But for those who have worked within its imposing stone walls, the building holds more than just a hum of machinery, holds secrets, whispers, and shadows that hint at something beyond the world of economics and metalwork. The Denver Mint's history stretches back to the early 20th century, when construction began in 1897 and production officially started in 1906. In its earliest days, the Mint was not only a symbol of Denver's growing importance, but also a heavily guarded fortress, safeguarding gold, silver, and currency during volatile times in American history. With such wealth passing through its halls, stories of robberies and tragedies naturally followed. Some believe these darker moments left imprints that linger in the atmosphere, surfacing as unexplained noises, phantom figures, and chilling presences that haunt those who spend their days and nights inside. One of the most common reports from Mint employees involves the sound of footsteps echoing through empty corridors. Security staff walking their late-night rounds often describe the distinct rhythm of shoes clicking against the marble floors, pacing just ahead of them. Yet, when they round the corner to investigate, the hall is empty. Sometimes, the footsteps seem to come from multiple directions at once, as though unseen workers are moving about the building long after their shifts have ended. A few guards even claim the footsteps follow them, stopping abruptly whenever they turn around, only to resume again when they continue forward. Equally unsettling are the figures seen moving within the shadows of the Mint. Employees have described catching glimpses of human shapes, darting just out of sight, tall silhouettes, slipping behind doorways, or crouching near machinery that should be powered down for the night. These apparitions often vanish as quickly as they appear, leaving only the prickling sensation of being watched. Some workers believe these are the spirits of former Mint employees, still dutifully guarding the riches they once helped to produce. Others suspect they are echoes of criminals who once schemed to infiltrate the building, their restless energy trapped in the place where so many fortunes were secured. Among the most enduring legends tied to the Denver Mint is the story of the 1922 robbery attempt, one of the most infamous heists in American history. Armed men ambushed a Federal Reserve Bank delivery truck outside the Mint, killing a guard and stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars. Though some of the criminals were later caught, portions of the stolen money were never recovered. To this day, some staff believe the slain guard still patrols the grounds, his spirit eternally standing watch over the vaults and halls. Security guards have occasionally reported seeing a man in an early 20th century uniform, standing solemnly near entrances or walking the perimeter at night. When approached, the figure fades into nothing, leaving behind only the sound of retreating footsteps. Inside the Mint, stories persist of phantom voices and conversations drifting through the air. Workers have heard the faint murmur of men arguing in rooms that are empty, or the distant hum of machinery long since shut down for maintenance. Sometimes these voices seem to belong to specific individuals, echoing with the gruff tone of supervisors or the nervous whispers of laborers under pressure. The origin of these voices remains a mystery. though many believe they are residual imprints of decades of intense labor and high-stakes operations, replaying like a broken record through the fabric of the building itself. Temperature shifts add another layer to the Mint's haunting reputation. Employees describe sudden cold drafts sweeping through sealed corridors, sometimes accompanied by the sensation of a hand brushing past them. In certain vaults, where precious metals were once stored in massive quantities, workers have reported dramatic temperature drops that leave them shivering despite the stable climate controls. Some believe these icy blasts are tied to the restless spirits of those who perished during the Mint's darker chapters, such as robbery attempts, workplace accidents, or even suicides brought on by the immense pressure of the job. Visitors who tour the Mint occasionally sense the presence of something unusual as well. While public access is heavily restricted, those fortunate enough to enter have described the building as possessing a strange heaviness, as though the very air is charged with energy. Tour guides have shared anecdotes of guests asking about the man in uniform they saw standing silently in a hallway, only to be informed that no such person was on duty that day. These moments, while brief, leave lasting impressions on those who experience them. Despite these unsettling accounts, many who work at the Denver Mint speak of its supernatural side with a mix of fear and respect. For some, the spirits are seen as guardians protectors of the nation's wealth and symbols of duty carried on beyond death. For others, the hauntings are reminders of the building's long and often troubled history, where greed, violence, and tragedy left marks too deep to fully fade. What is undeniable is that the Denver Mint, beyond its role as a cornerstone of America's currency production, is also a place where the past continues to whisper through the present. From footsteps in empty halls to shadowy figures that refuse to disappear, the Mint holds stories that transcend the material wealth it safeguards. It stands not only as a monument to commerce and industry, but as a site where history as spectral echoes remind all who enter that some debts can never truly be paid, and some presences never truly leave. The Colorado State Capitol, with its gleaming golden dome rising proudly above Denver, is a symbol of authority, progress, and the enduring spirit of the Centennial State. Completed in 1894, this grand structure has borne witness to political triumphs, historic legislation, and moments of profound change in Colorado's history. But like many buildings with such weighty legacies, the Capitol has also gathered whispers of the unexplained, stories that suggest not all who walk its marbled halls are among the living. The building itself is impressive in every sense. Its stately columns, ornate staircases, and stained glass windows reflect an era of ambition, designed to show that Colorado was ready to stand tall among the states of the Union. Yet beneath the beauty lies a history riddled with tragedy, scandal, and hardship. Some believe these darker chapters are what give rise to the spirits said to linger there, unable or unwilling to let go of the place where their passions once burned so brightly. One of the most common reports from staff and visitors alike is the sound of unexplained noises echoing through the halls. Long after lawmakers and aides have left for the night, security guards making their rounds describe the soft murmur of voices, as if debates are still unfolding behind closed doors. Footsteps often follow them down marble corridors, distinct and deliberate, yet no one is there when they turn to look. Doors open and close on their own, their heavy frames creaking as though pushed by unseen hands. Some guards insist these disturbances come from the spirits of legislators, still pacing and arguing over bills that consumed their lives. Figures have also been spotted in the windows of the Capitol after dark, a chilling sight for those passing by on Denver's streets. Witnesses describe shadowy silhouettes moving between the drapes, sometimes pausing as if to watch the city below. More than one late-night pedestrian has sworn they saw a man in old-fashioned clothing gazing out from the upper floors. Even though the building was locked tight, these phantom watchers often vanish in the blink of an eye, leaving the windows empty once again. Among the Capitol's most enduring ghostly legends is that of a young woman in period dress, said to drift silently through the upper floors. She is often described as wearing a long gown, her face pale, her movements graceful but deliberate. No one knows for certain who she is, but theories abound. Some say she was a secretary who worked tirelessly in the building before her untimely death. Others whisper she might be tied to one of the early construction workers' families, perhaps still searching for someone she lost. Those who claim to have seen her often describe a sudden chill in the air, followed by the faint scent of lilacs, a fragrance oddly out of place in the middle of polished stone and polished brass. The Capitol also has a connection to death that is more than symbolic. Beneath its grounds lie the remains of several early settlers and pioneers, whose graves were disturbed when the land was cleared for construction. Many spiritualists believe that building on such a site leaves behind restless energy, and that the figures seen in the windows or the whispers heard in the halls could belong to those who were displaced in the name of progress. One eerie account, often repeated by Capitol staff, involves the grand staircase near the rotunda. Visitors climbing its steps have reported feeling a hand on their back, as if someone were gently or sometimes firmly guiding them upward. Yet when they turn, no one is behind them. On rare occasions, guests have claimed to see a shadowy man at the top of the stairs, waiting before fading into the air. Some speculate this could be the spirit of a former lawmaker, urging others to continue their climb toward power and responsibility. The building's basement also has its share of ghost stories. Guards walking through the dimly lit passages at night sometimes hear the sound of typewriters clacking. Though no typewriters remain in use there, others hear the rustle of papers and the faint scratch of pens, as though unseen clerks are still hard at work, recording the business of a government that never truly sleeps. Despite its grandeur, the Capitol has been the site of tragedy, and the Colorado State Capitol is no exception. From heated political debates to personal despair, the building has absorbed the full range of human emotion, and perhaps, in turn, given rise to its supernatural echoes. Visitors who come during the day often feel none of this, swept away instead by the awe of the dome, the art, and the sense of history surrounding them. But those who linger when the crowds are gone tell a different story, a story of unseen presences, unending whispers, and shadows that refuse to leave. The Colorado State Capitol is more than just a symbol of democracy and governance. It is a building alive with memory, both of the living and, it seems, of the dead. Whether it is lawmakers still carrying out their eternal debates, pioneers unsettled by their displacement, or unknown figures watching silently from the windows, the Capitol reminds us that history does not always rest quietly. It lingers in the marble and stone, whispering through the halls, reminding all who enter that power, passion, and tragedy can leave marks that last far longer than a lifetime. The Denver Public Library, with its towering shelves, vast collections, and hushed reading rooms, stands as one of the city's great landmarks for learning. By day, it is a haven for scholars, students, and book lovers. But when the sun sets and the echoes of footsteps fade, the building takes on an entirely different presence. Among the rows of books and silent corridors, stories of paranormal activity have lingered for decades, leaving staff and visitors alike wondering who or what continues to roam its halls after closing time. One of the most frequently reported experiences involves whispers among the stacks. Librarians working late have described hearing faint voices drifting between aisles, as if unseen patrons are murmuring to one another. The whispers are often unintelligible, soft and hurried, yet persistent enough to make the hair on the back of the neck stand upright. Some claim the whispers stop abruptly the moment they step around a corner, as though the voices know they are being followed. Others insist they've heard their own name spoken, whispered directly into their ear, though no one was nearby. Adding to the mystery, staff often witness books moving on their own. Heavy tomes fall from shelves without explanation, sometimes landing at the feet of startled workers. In other cases, entire rows of volumes are found slightly pulled forward, as if someone or something had been browsing through them during the night. A few employees have even reported seeing books slide from the shelves, as if nudged by an invisible hand, drifting unnaturally before dropping to the floor. Attempts to explain these incidents as drafts, vibrations, or shelving issues fall short. especially when they occur in sealed areas with no air movement at all. In the quiet of the library's reading rooms, shadows are often spotted darting across walls. Visitors have described the unsettling experience of looking up from a book to see a tall, indistinct figure gliding silently between shelves. These figures rarely linger, vanishing into corners or fading as one tries to focus on them. A few accounts suggest that the shadows belong to patrons of long ago, spirits who cannot bear to leave their beloved collections behind. Particularly chilling are the reports tied to the basement archives, where rare and fragile texts are stored. Staff working in this section often describe a heavy atmosphere, as though the air itself is pressing down upon them. In these subterranean rooms, footsteps are heard echoing along the concrete floors, yet no one is ever present. The sensation of being watched is especially strong here, with employees sometimes abandoning their tasks altogether, unwilling to remain alone in the dimly lit rooms. There are also stories connected to the elevators and stairwells. More than one person has reported calling an elevator late at night, only to find it already waiting with its doors wide open, though no one had summoned it. On rare occasions, the elevator has stopped on darkened floors where no activity was scheduled, leaving its passengers with the uneasy feeling that something unseen had pressed a button. In the stairwells, the echo of footsteps often accompanies those climbing or descending, keeping pace until vanishing entirely. Some speculate that the hauntings are tied to the library's land and history. Denver's early days were rife with hardship, and it's possible that the spirits of those who lived and died in the area have attached themselves to the site. Others believe the immense collection of books themselves hold residual energy, imbued with the lives and emotions of those who created them. If one accepts this possibility, the library may not only store the written word, but also the restless fragments of souls long departed. The library's architecture adds to its eerie qualities, with high ceilings, cavernous rooms, and rows upon rows of shelves stretching into shadows. The building has an echo that amplifies every creak, sigh, and whisper. Even in broad daylight, certain corners feel strangely isolated, as if the outside world has been cut away. At night, when the lights are dimmed, the space transforms into a labyrinth of darkened passages and silent sentinels, where every flicker of movement could signal the presence of something beyond the living. Patrons, to have occasionally experienced odd phenomena. Some visitors claim they've felt a sudden chill while browsing shelves, or that a particular book seemed to leap out toward them, demanding attention. A few have recounted seeing a figure seated at a table or desk, only to realize the figure vanishes when approached. Others have felt a gentle brush against their shoulder, or the sensation of someone leaning close to read over their arm, always to discover no one there. What is striking about the Denver Public Library's ghostly reputation is that the experiences are rarely threatening. Most accounts describe the spirits as watchful, curious, and oddly protective of the building. The whispers, footsteps, and moving books suggest activity but not aggression, as though the souls who linger here simply refuse to leave a place they once cherished. For some, the library was a sanctuary in life, and it seems they have chosen to remain within its walls even after death. The Denver Public Library thus stands as more than a repository of knowledge, is also a repository of memory, energy, and mystery. Visitors who enter may expect to find only books, history, and learning, but many leave with stories of their own. Whispers in empty aisles, shadows that vanish into silence, and books that fall into their hands, as though chosen by unseen librarians. It is a place where the living and the dead seem to coexist, bound together by the eternal pull of stories, words, and the quiet power of a library that never truly sleeps. The Denver Coliseum, a sprawling venue known for its concerts, rodeos, circuses, and countless community events, has stood for decades as one of the city's most iconic gathering places. Generations of Denver residents have come here to be entertained, to cheer for their favorite performers, and to share unforgettable experiences with thousands of others. But beyond the music, the laughter, and the roar of the crowd, there exists another history, one that is quieter, darker, and far less celebrated. For years, staff, performers, and maintenance workers have whispered about the strange things they encountered within the Colosseum's vast corridors and cavernous spaces. One of the most common reports involves footsteps echoing through empty hallways, long after the crowds have gone home and the lights have dimmed. Workers making their rounds describe hearing the steady sound of shoes striking the concrete floors. The footsteps often follow behind them, matching their pace, growing louder as though closing in. But when they stop to look, the hallways are deserted. No one is ever there. Some employees claim the footsteps continue even when they stand perfectly still, as if unseen figures are circling them, pacing restlessly through the building. Along with the footsteps come sightings of shadowy figures moving in the darkness. Security guards have spotted these shapes lurking near entrances, peering out from behind support beams, or gliding across the floor of the main arena itself. The figures never remain long enough to be identified, dissolving into the shadows as soon as someone approaches. Witnesses often describe them as tall and human-like, but indistinct, their features swallowed by the gloom. Many believe these apparitions are restless remnants of past visitors, workers, or even performers whose energy remains bound to the place where they once gathered. The arena floor itself has a particularly eerie reputation. After an event, when the stands are empty and the cleanup crews are working late, some staff report hearing the distant murmur of voices, cheers, laughter, even applause echoing faintly across the space. At first, many assumed it was residual noise from outside the building, but the sounds are often heard when the night is completely silent. To those who have experienced it, it feels as though echoes of past crowds still reverberate in the walls, replaying fragments of nights long gone. One security officer shared a chilling story of patrolling the upper seating areas during a quiet evening. As he walked between rows of empty chairs, he suddenly heard the sound of someone clapping slowly behind him. The noise was deliberate, heavy, and hollow. When he turned, the stands were empty. The clapping stopped, but the overwhelming sense of being watched lingered until he quickly left the area. Backstage areas and dressing rooms also carry their share of strange tales. Performers preparing for shows have reported sudden cold drafts sweeping through closed rooms, lights flickering without cause, and the unsettling sensation that someone is standing just behind them. One musician recalled seeing the reflection of a man in a dark suit in the mirror while tuning his instrument. When he turned around, the room was empty. Shaken, he cut his rehearsal short and refused to be alone in the dressing rooms for the rest of the event. The maintenance tunnels beneath the Colosseum may be the most unnerving part of all. These narrow, dimly lit passageways are rarely seen by the public, but staff working there describe an atmosphere thick with unease. Strange knocking sounds reverberate through the walls, and tools sometimes go missing, only to reappear in odd places. Workers often feel as though they are not alone, their footsteps accompanied by unseen companions moving in lockstep. Some have even heard whispers drifting through the tunnel's faint, indistinct words that seem to come from nowhere. Not all of the stories are sinister, however. A few accounts suggest the spirits here are more mischievous than menacing. Stagehands talk of props being rearranged, equipment turning on by itself, or doors swinging open just as someone reaches for the handle, as if an unseen presence is playing tricks. Still, the unpredictability of these events makes many uneasy, unsure whether they're encountering playful energy or something far more unsettling. Theories about the hauntings vary. Some suggest that the sheer number of events, performances, and gatherings held at the Colosseum has left behind an energetic imprint, a residual haunting of the thousands of emotions poured into the venue over the years. Others believe that accidents or tragedies connected to the building's long history may have tethered certain spirits to the space. While few concrete records point to specific deaths within the Colosseum, the high-energy environment and constant flow of people may have created the perfect storm for paranormal activity. For those who experience the Colosseum only during events, these stories may seem hard to believe. The building, alive with music, lights, and energy, feels far from haunted. But for those who know its empty halls, quiet staircases, and darkened corridors, The atmosphere shifts dramatically once the crowds are gone. The building breathes differently. It feels less like an entertainment venue and more like a space alive with unseen watchers lingering just out of sight. The Denver Coliseum is remembered fondly for its concerts, rodeos, and community gatherings. Yet for those who have worked within its walls, it is also remembered for its unsettling silences, phantom footsteps, and shadowy figures that defy explanation. It is a place where the living and the echoes of the past seem to overlap, creating a haunting reminder that even in spaces built for joy and celebration, something darker may linger in the shadows. The Denver Zoo is one of the city's most beloved attractions, drawing families, students, and animal lovers from across the country. With its carefully designed habitats and diverse range of wildlife, the zoo is a place of joy, education, and wonder. Yet, for all its cheerful reputation, there is another side to the Denver Zoo, one whispered about by night staff, security guards, and longtime employees. Beyond the calls of animals and the rustling of leaves, the zoo carries an atmosphere that sometimes feels charged with something otherworldly. Strange noises, unexplained movements, and chilling presences have led many to believe that the zoo is home, not only to animals but to spirits that linger in the shadows. When the gates close for the day and the crowds disperse, the zoo transforms. The usual noise of children laughing, parents chatting, and animals responding to their audiences fades into silence. The quiet is broken only by the distant calls of nocturnal creatures. It is in these hours, when the zoo seems to exhale and the darkness stretches across its enclosures, that the eerie stories begin. Staff walking through the empty pathways have reported the sound of footsteps echoing where no one should be. These aren't the casual scuffs of visitors, but deliberate, heavy steps that follow close behind. Often, the footsteps stop the moment the worker stops, leaving them in a silence so thick it feels suffocating. Many have turned, expecting to see a fellow employee, only to find the pathway completely deserted. Some describe the unnerving sensation of being trailed, as though someone or something was pacing just out of sight. One of the most unnerving reports comes from the older enclosures that no longer house animals. In these areas, staff have heard sounds of movement inside the cages, shuffling, scratching, even the faint creak of a door being disturbed. Yet, when checked, the spaces are empty. On some nights, voices have been heard in these abandoned enclosures, whispers carried on the air that seem to come from within the cages themselves. Those who have heard them say the words are indistinguishable but urgent, as though someone is trying desperately to communicate. The Big Cat area carries its own unsettling stories. Keepers working late have sworn they've seen figures moving just beyond the fence. Lines, human-shaped shadows gliding silently when no one should be. At first glance, some assumed they were trespassers, but when approached, the figures vanish into the darkness, leaving only the restless growls of lions or leopards staring into the void as though they, too, sense something unnatural. Animals at the zoo are highly sensitive, and staff have noted that certain species react strongly during these moments, pacing anxiously or refusing to settle, as if disturbed by an unseen presence. The primate house is another hotspot for strange activity. Caretakers describe objects moving on their own, like feeding tools left neatly on a shelf suddenly found on the floor. Doors have been heard opening and slamming shut when the building is empty. One worker recalled locking up late at night when the sound of laughter, like childlike giggles, echoed through the hall. Believing someone had slipped inside, they searched the building thoroughly, but found nothing. The laughter, however, followed them until they left, each burst growing quieter and more distant, as though fading into another world. Perhaps the most chilling reports come from the aquatic exhibits. Maintenance staff working near the tanks after hours have seen ripples form across still water, even when no animals are present. Reflections in the glass sometimes show more than the expected images, figures standing nearby, watching, though no one else is there. One employee spoke of glimpsing a pale face in the reflection of a tank, only for it to vanish when they turned around. The incident left them so shaken that they refused to work in that area alone again. Some believe the hauntings are tied to the zoo's long history. Established in the late 1800s, the grounds have been reshaped countless times, and in earlier years, conditions were not as modern or humane as they are today. It is said that some animals lived and died under tragic circumstances, their energy imprinted on the land. Others speculate that the land itself carries a deeper history, one that predates the zoo entirely. Long before the enclosures and pathways were built, this area may have held its own stories of hardship and loss, and those restless spirits may remain. Employees who have worked at the zoo for decades often avoid discussing the hauntings openly, though many admit there is something strange about the place after dark. They share a common belief. Whatever walks the zoo at night isn't always threatening, but it is undeniably present. The zoo seems to hold on to echoes of the past moments, voices, and shadows that resurface when the world grows quiet. Visitors during the day rarely suspect such a haunting undercurrent. They see playful animals, lush habitats, and the joy of discovery. But those who linger after closing, who step into the stillness of the night, tell a different story. They describe a zoo that feels alive in ways beyond the natural world, a place where footsteps echo without cause, where shadows move freely, and where unseen eyes seem to watch from the darkness. The Denver Zoo remains a cornerstone of the city, a cherished space of learning and wonder. Yet, alongside the living creatures it houses, there may be other inhabitant spirits that wander its grounds, pacing the enclosures and whispering through the night. For those who know its secrets, the zoo is not just a sanctuary of animals, but a place where the past refuses to stay buried, and the boundary between the natural and the supernatural is never truly secure. The University of Denver, nestled against the backdrop of Colorado's mountains, carries with it more than a century of history. Generations of students have come and gone, filling the halls with their laughter, struggles, and ambitions. The campus itself seems timeless, its red brick buildings standing as silent witnesses to countless stories. But not all stories end when the semesters close or when the students move on. Some say certain presences linger, and those who attend the University of Denver today whisper of events that cannot be explained by textbooks or science. From the outside, the university seems warm and welcoming. The tree-lined paths, the historic structures, and the hum of student life create the impression of an academic haven. But once the sun dips low and the bustle of campus life fades, the atmosphere changes. The air grows heavier, the silence deeper. Students who remain late in the libraries or dormitories speak of strange happenings that turn the ordinary into something unsettling. One of the most frequently told stories involves Marjorie Reed Hall, a building beloved for its academic history but dreaded after dark. Students working late have reported the sound of footsteps echoing through its hallways, slow and deliberate, as if someone unseen is pacing back and forth. The sound grows louder the later it gets, until it feels as though the presence is right behind them. Yet, when they turn, the hall is empty. Lights flicker without reason, casting long shadows on the walls. And the sensation of being watched is so strong that some students refuse to enter the building after nightfall. The Mary Reed Building, one of the university's most iconic structures, is also the source of unsettling experiences. Its Gothic architecture already lends itself to eerie feelings, but stories go further than appearances. Janitors and security staff have claimed that the top floors are particularly active. Doors slam shut even when no drafts are present, and faint whispers are heard from behind locked rooms. Some staff insist that a tall woman in old-fashioned clothing can sometimes be seen standing at the end of the hallway. She never moves closer, but her presence is enough to freeze anyone in their tracks. The University of Denver Library is another place where students and staff have shared chilling accounts. Late-night study sessions often end with books sliding off shelves on their own, or pages turning in silence when no one is nearby. One student recalled staying past midnight to finish a paper. As they worked, the overhead lights began flickering, and from the corner of their eye, they saw a figure moving between the aisles. Thinking it was a staff member, they called out, but the figure did not respond. When they checked, the aisle was empty. The student swears that before leaving, they heard a deep sigh right next to their ear. though no one was there. Dormitories across campus also carry their share of ghostly rumors. In one hall, students have experienced radios and alarms turning on by themselves at odd hours of the night. In another, doors creak open slowly, even when locked, and shadowy figures appear in the mirrors of communal bathrooms. A common thread among these tales is the feeling of not being alone, even in the most private spaces. Some residents say they hear someone walking in their room at night, footsteps circling their bed, but when they switch on the light, nothing is there. The university's theater spaces are equally haunted in their own way. Actors rehearsing alone report hearing applause from an empty auditorium. Curtains sway without any breeze, and lights flicker to life as though commanded by an unseen director. One story tells of a rehearsal where a spotlight turned on by itself, illuminating center stage. The actor on stage froze as they swore they saw another performer standing beside them, clothed in outdated costume, smiling faintly before fading into the shadows. Many believe that the University of Denver's hauntings are tied to its long history. Founded in the 19th century, the institution has witnessed countless lives passing through, and perhaps not all of them fully left. Some speculate that former students, professors, or benefactors remain connected to the university, their spirits unwilling to abandon the place that defined them. Others suggest that the energy of generations of students, the triumphs, the heartbreaks, the relentless pursuit of knowledge has left a residue that manifests as inexplicable activity. Animals on campus have also shown strange reactions, often staring at empty spaces or refusing to enter certain areas. One security guard recalled walking with his dog during a late-night patrol. The dog froze, staring at the entrance of a building, growling low in its throat. No amount of coaxing would make it move forward, and when the guard glanced toward the doorway, he swore he saw a figure leaning against a wall before vanishing instantly. Despite the unsettling reports, there is no widespread fear on campus, rather, a curious fascination. Students share their ghost stories during late-night conversations, daring each other to walk into the darker parts of campus alone. Yet, beneath the joking and bravado lies an acknowledgement. The University of Denver holds more than academic secrets. There is something intangible, something woven into its bricks and foundations that defies explanation. Those who have studied or worked here often carry their stories long after graduation. For many, the experiences remain as vivid as the day they happened. A door slamming shut behind them, a whisper cutting through the silence, or a fleeting figure disappearing around the corner. Whether one believes in ghosts or not, the accounts are too numerous and consistent to ignore. The University of Denver stands proud as an institution of learning, growth, and tradition. But beneath its scholarly reputation, another narrative hums quietly, one shaped by echoes of the past and shadows that still wander its halls. For those who walk its grounds, especially at night, the campus can feel less like a place of solitude and more like a place where unseen eyes watch from the corners, reminding everyone that history here is not only studied, it's still alive, lingering, and restless. The Denver Police Museum, tucked away in what was once a bustling police station, is a place where history is carefully preserved. Inside, visitors find uniforms from long-gone eras, gleaming badges worn by officers decades ago, and artifacts that trace the story of law enforcement in the city. The building itself is sturdy, with the unmistakable look of early 20th century civic architecture, high ceilings, cold tile floors, and an air of authority that lingers even in its new role as a museum. Yet, despite its transformation, the space carries with it more than just relics of the past. Those who step inside sometimes find themselves experiencing far more than a history lesson. From the moment visitors cross the threshold, the atmosphere feels heavier than in most museums. The rooms are quiet, yet the silence often feels charged, as if unseen eyes are watching from every corner. Many guests have noted how certain areas of the museum seem unnaturally cold, no matter the season, and how shadows cling stubbornly to places where light should reach. The building seems alive in subtle ways, and for those sensitive to such things, the sense of presence is unmistakable. One of the most commonly reported experiences involves the sound of footsteps. Visitors wandering alone down the corridors often hear the distinct echo of boots striking the tiled floors, measured and deliberate, as though an unseen officer is still on patrol. At times, the sound follows them from room to room. People have turned quickly, expecting to see another guest or a staff member behind them, only to find the hall completely empty. Some claim the steps are accompanied by the faint jingle of keys, as if someone is making rounds through the old station, ensuring everything is in order. The museum's holding cells are another source of unease. Preserved from its days as a functioning station, the cells are small, stark, and unsettling even in daylight. Visitors peering inside often report a sudden chill creeping up their spine, accompanied by the distinct feeling that someone is standing just beyond the bars. Some have even said they heard faint murmurs coming from within, whispers too quiet to make out, but clear enough to send them stepping back in fear. A few guests insist they have seen fleeting shadows move inside the cells, darting just out of sight. One security guard admitted he avoids that area entirely when he has to lock up at night, saying the sense of being watched is too overwhelming to ignore. In one exhibit room, displaying old police photographs and case files, staff members have encountered strange activity. Papers on desks shift as though brushed by unseen hands, and drawers have been known to slide open on their own. A particularly unsettling story comes from a former curator who stayed late cataloging artifacts. As she worked, she heard the unmistakable sound of a man clearing his throat right behind her. She turned sharply, heart pounding, but the room was empty. Moments later, a heavy binder slid off the table and landed at her feet, open to a page documenting an officer killed in the line of duty. She left immediately and refused to work late again. Another recurring presence is that of a shadowy figure spotted in different parts of the museum. Guests describe it as a tall man, dressed in what looks like an old-fashioned police uniform, standing silently in corners or at the end of corridors. He does not move, does not speak, but disappears the moment anyone approaches. Some believe this spirit could be a former officer still keeping watch over the station, unwilling to leave the building where he once served. Others suspect it might be connected to the many criminals who once passed through the station's walls, their energy forever tied to the place of their confinement. Staff working at the museum after hours report additional phenomena that make the building difficult to endure alone. Lights flicker even after bulbs have been replaced. Doors creak open as if nudged by unseen hands, and the old radio equipment sometimes crackles with static despite being long out of service. One night, two employees locking up heard what sounded like a radio transmission, garbled words and static coming from an exhibit case. They froze, listening as the noise lasted nearly a full minute before cutting off abruptly. No devices in the building were capable of transmitting anything, leaving them shaken and baffled. The museum also houses uniforms, weapons, and personal belongings of officers long gone. And some paranormal enthusiasts suggest that these items could carry residual energy. Visitors have claimed that, while examining certain displays, they suddenly feel overwhelmed by emotion waves of sorrow, anger, or fear that seem to come from nowhere. One woman touring the museum fainted while standing in front of an exhibit dedicated to fallen officers. When she recovered, she said she had felt as if dozens of unseen eyes were staring at her, pressing down with unbearable intensity. The building's basement, once used for storage and evidence, is perhaps the most unsettling place of all. Few visitors are allowed down there, but staff who venture into the space describe it as suffocating. The air feels thick, the silence oppressive. Some have reported the sound of dragging chains echoing faintly through the dark, though no chains are stored there. One janitor swears he saw the outline of a figure leaning against a wall, arms crossed, watching silently as he worked. When he blinked, the figure was gone. Despite the fear the Denver Police Museum inspires in many, there is also a sense of respect. The building is, after all, a monument to service and sacrifice. And many believe that the spirits lingering here are not malicious, but rather tied to their duty. They remain guardians of the station, unwilling to step away from their posts, even in death. Others suggest the hauntings are remnants of the darker side of the building's history, the criminals, the tragedies, and the injustices that played out behind its walls. Whatever the truth, the Denver Police Museum continues to be more than just a collection of artifacts. It is a place where the line between past and present blurs, where the echoes of boots on tile and whispers in the cells remind visitors that history is not only preserved in objects, but in the restless presences that still inhabit the spaces where it was made. Those who enter expecting only a history lesson may leave with something else entirely. A lingering sense that the old station is still alive, still patrolled, and still haunted by those who never truly left. The Denver County Jail, though silent today, once held some of the city's most notorious criminals. Its cold concrete walls and barred windows were designed to contain desperation, violence, and regret. From the outside, the building looks like an abandoned relic of another era, its brickwork faded and its windows dark. But those who dare to approach it say the jail is not as empty as it appears. The jail was built in the early 20th century, a time when Denver was rapidly growing and crime was on the rise. It became the holding ground for thieves, murderers, and outlaws, a place where justice was carried out swiftly and harshly. Over the decades, countless men and women spent days, months, or even years behind its bars. For many, the jail was their last stop before being sent to prison or before meeting their end. Life inside the Denver County Jail was brutal. Inmates endured overcrowded cells, poor sanitation, and the constant threat of violence from both guards and fellow prisoners. Executions were carried out here as well, adding another layer of grim history to its walls. Though the jail was eventually shut down and replaced by modern facilities, its legacy of suffering left a deep scar on the building itself. Many believe that is why the jail remains so restless even in its abandonment. Visitors who have ventured close to the old structure tell chilling tales. Some claim to see figures moving in the windows at night, even though the building has long been closed and secured. These figures are often described as gaunt, shadowy shapes, pacing back and forth, as if still waiting for their release. Others have spotted what looks like faces pressed against the glass, staring down at them before vanishing into the dark. Inside, the atmosphere is said to be suffocating. Those who have been permitted to enter on tours or during investigations describe the air as heavy, thick with despair. Cold drafts drift through the corridors without any source, and an oppressive silence dominates the rooms. Yet that silence is often broken by the unmistakable sound of chains dragging across the floor. The metallic scraping echoes through the halls, sometimes accompanied by the clank of shackles, as if prisoners are still being led through the corridors by unseen guards. The cells themselves are particularly unnerving. Many visitors feel an immediate weight pressing down on them as soon as they step inside, as though the space remembers the suffering of those who are locked away. Paranormal investigators have recorded strange activity within the cells, unexplained bangs, whispers caught on audio equipment, and even shadowy forms darting just out of sight. One investigator reported feeling a sudden tug on her sleeve, though she was alone at the time. Some of the most disturbing accounts come from the area where executions once took place. The jail saw more than its share of death sentences, and locals believe the spirits of those condemned still linger, bitter and unresolved. People have reported hearing muffled screams in the dead of night, or the creak of a rope swinging above. A few have even claimed to see an apparition of a man with a noose around his neck, swaying gently in the dim light before fading into nothing. Former guards who worked at the jail before its closure have also shared their experiences. One retired officer recalled doing rounds late at night and hearing the sound of someone walking behind him. He turned, expecting to confront an inmate out of his cell, but the corridor was empty. Another spoke of doors slamming shut with such force that the entire block shook, though no one else was present. These men, hardened by years of service, admitted that the jail always seemed to harbor something beyond explanation. Even from outside, passers-by claim the jail has an eerie pull. People walking near the building often feel as though they are being watched. Some describe hearing faint whispers carried on the wind, while others swear they've heard the distant clank of metal, even with no one nearby. A few have said they were overwhelmed by sudden waves of sadness or anger when standing too close, emotions so intense they had to leave immediately. Perhaps the most famous story tied to the Denver County Jail is that of an inmate who was wrongfully accused and executed. Locals say his spirit is one of the most active in the building, still seeking justice for the life taken from him. His apparition is said to appear near the old gallows, his eyes filled with anguish. Some investigators claim that electronic devices malfunction in this area, batteries draining instantly as though the spirit is feeding off the energy. Despite its dark reputation, the jail continues to draw the curious. Paranormal enthusiasts, history buffs, and thrill seekers alike are fascinated by its haunted legacy. Yet many who enter leave with an unshakable sense of dread. Even skeptics, who enter dismissing the stories as folklore, often emerge pale and shaken, unwilling to talk about what they experienced inside. What remains certain is that the Denver County Jail is more than just an abandoned building. It is a monument to pain, fear, and injustice, a place where the past refuses to rest quietly. Every dragging chain, every shadow in the window, every whisper in the hall is a reminder that the stories of those who lived and died within its walls are not forgotten. The jail's prisoners may have been confined in life, but in death, their presence continues to roam freely, echoing endlessly through the corridors of Denver's most haunted lockup. And there you have it, 25 of the most haunted places in Denver, Colorado. From opulent hotels to historic mansions, the mile-high city is steeped in eerie tales and ghostly encounters. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, these stories remind us that the past never truly fades. It lingers, waiting to be discovered. If you enjoyed this journey into Denver's haunted history, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, keep your lights on and your senses sharp. You never know what might be lurking in the shadows.